starting the calling to order the September 1st, 2020 Planning Board meeting. I apologize for all the delays. We're working on it. So first thing I have to do a voice roll call for attendance. So I'll start with Janice Gomes is absent. We have Amanda Souza is absent. Rosemary Eva.
Here.
Stu Hardy is not here at the moment. Susan Gale here. Adam Raposa is absent. Dave Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Peter Bramonti.
Here.
Yeah, great. And Christine Shea.
Here.
Excellent. Okay. And also we have Travis DaCosta sitting as our solicitor tonight. We have Rick Rogers from DPW, and we have Joe Cardello from Steer Engineering. I believe all those people are present. So I'll go ahead and start with the first item on the agenda. It is applicant Robert Carr, estate of Antoinette Roderick, for an environmental review statement, Indian Rock Farm, Plat 706, Lot 101, East Side Main Road, R80 and Nonquit Pond Watershed Protection Overlay District, review and possible vote. Okay, so present for the applicant is Bill Smith, and if you want to go ahead and just whoever else you have that you're representing, just introduce, get the names on the record, please.
This is Bill Smith from Civil Engineering Concepts. With me tonight is Robert Carr, the applicant.
Okay. Okay. If you want to go ahead and do your presentation, that'd be great.
Bill, I can share my screen.
Thank you. I appreciate you making the best of this situation we're all in.
Right.
This environmental review statement was planning board earlier in the year, where there were some deficiencies. Mr. Carr came to us. We went ahead and tried to pull together some of the missing pieces. It's 720 Main Road in South Tiverton. We're trying to install two extensively dealt with the NRCS in terms of proper animal management. He's got cows on there, hopes to be able to milk the cow once he's got appropriate facilities. What we're asking for tonight is permission to install two barns on the property.
Did we lose him? I know his audio froze, or his visual froze. Is he still there?
Can you hear me coming into you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Your feed is unstable. There we go.
Yeah, your audio is kind of in and out, but we'll bear with it.
Is that any better?
Yes, so far.
All right, sorry about that. You're dealing with a dinosaur here, unfortunately. So the intent of the project is to provide two barns for the farm that we use for housing the animals and for animal waste storage, so that it's in an enclosed and covered space, so that it's not open to the environment. This has been extensively reviewed and developed through the NRCS and the USDA. We've gone to the Conservation Commission. Mr. Carr went previously, and then we went again at their last meeting, and they voted to endorse the project. We've got endorsements from Rhode Island DEM relative to Rhode Island DEM deals with farming applications a little differently than they do for normal property development, and it goes through their agricultural division. And we have the a sign off from their agricultural that they're on board with what we're proposing. The runoff from the roofs of the barns will be collected, and it'll be discharged into a bioretention basin on the property. Bioretention basin will be fenced in to keep the animals out of it. There's an ongoing project right now that being funded by the NRCS to provide additional fencing on the property to keep the cows away from the stream and the pond that's on the site. We've incorporated construction entrance, washout area, soil stockpile area into the development of the project. We can control any runoff that might potentially occur from the site, and we're looking for the board to hopefully grant us an approval. I know Joe had a couple of comments, and if you'd like, I can go through those quickly and address those. Because I think those are easily addressed if that's appropriate.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
You say it's the July.
So there was a question about the increasing the impervious area and how that conforms with the Rhode Island DEM stormwater management. We've done the calculations. We've sized the bioretention basin accordingly. It has been approved by DEM, again through their agricultural folks, but they have given it their blessing. Clarify why the construction entrance is labeled as optional. There's two construction entrances shown near the barn. Look towards the middle of the project where the existing gravel driveway goes through the stone wall. We call out an install construction entrance. We also show an optional entrance at Main Road in the event that if the work starts to track any sediments out to Main Road, we would install another construction entrance. That would certainly be at the direction or discretion of the building inspector as he's or that sort of thing. So there is one required with one optional if needed. By the surface type for the existing access road on the plans. The existing access road is gravel. That was not shown on the plan, but that could certainly be added. Provide the type and clarify the purpose of the proposed fence and explain why the fence is located outside the limit of disturbance. The proposed fence is part of the program that is ongoing with NRCS to keep livestock out of the wetland areas. That's a pasture there now, so we're really not disturbing anything other than installing the fence posts and installing the fencing. The more active construction would be around the two barns and around the bioretention basin. We've shown erosion control around the bioretention and the pen barns, as opposed to around the fencing, because that's fairly innocuous and it wouldn't generate any sedimentation. Fencing. What type of fencing? Woven wire. A woven wire fence. I think that was part of Joe's question. And provide the DEM jurisdictional boundaries associated with the existing stream. How wide is the stream? There's a pond in a stream, and has a submission been made to DEM for applicability. So we do have our DEM sign off. The stream is an intermittent stream that flows from the pond. Because it's an agricultural project, it has a different set of setbacks than a normal development project would. So that was the reason that we didn't show a 50-foot setback to the pond or a 100-foot setback to the stream because of I hope those answer your questions. If you have any further questions, Bob and I are here to address those.
Bill, I'm wondering, because we have some new members on the board, and just to give them a better idea of why we do environmental review statements, could you go through, the key points that you're looking at that we ask you to address that are up on the checklist? Because that'll help some of the newer members understand the process of what we're doing.
Sure. Want me to address the checklist, or do you want me to go through my narrative?
Yeah, your narrative, just so they understand what,
Okay.
What an environmental review statement is, what we're looking for, what kind of questions you need to be answering, and kind of it'll give them a better idea of why we do this. So
the environmental review is because we're in the watershed of Nonquit Pond. You also have an ordinance that if you're in the watershed of Stafford Pond, you have to go through the same process, and this is to protect the drinking water supplies. So any work within a certain distance from water bodies does require an environmental review statement prepared and approved by the planning board. One of the things that we've got is prohibited uses on the property, and that's taken right from the zoning regulations. We can't have storage of petroleum or refined products in excess of that required for normal heating of the structures. At this point, there's no heating proposed for the barns. They're going to be exposed to the environment, and the animals generate enough heat that they can survive through the winter without any difficulties. We get no storage of hazardous waste. Disposal is prohibited. Disposal of any liquid or leachable waste other than domestic sewage. Discharging to a Rhode Island DEM individual sewage disposal system, OWS. So the waste from the animals will be collected and stored inside the facility, as opposed to an exterior exposed to the environment manure bin, or just left alone out on the pasture. It will be used. You have a composting facility that's going to be accepting the waste. So the material will be composted appropriately in accordance with the regulations that govern composting. We're not allowed to have any industrial, commercial, or service uses that discharge processed wastewater on site. No storage of road salt or de-icing chemicals. No automotive or service or repair shops, junk or salvage yards. No incinerators or sanitary landfills. The applicant understands, acknowledges that use of a septic system additives are strictly prohibited. There is no septic system that's proposed for the facility. It's strictly agricultural use. We'll be rendering more than 10% of the site impervious. We're approximately 0.36% of the site would be rendered impervious, not 3.6, 0.36. It's a very small amount compared to the 115 acres there. Pesticides and fertilizers are generally prohibited. The site is in flood zone, which means that it's not susceptible to a 1% storm event, or typically called a 100-year storm. Neighboring uses within the site are generally residential, agricultural. You've got the Tiverton landfill, got an auto repair, a bus storage, cemetery, church, and small business uses are present. Lot sizes range from a quarter acre to 113 acres. Residential farms, auto repair, commercial property, and open space abut the site. And we are in the watershed for Nonquit Pond. Again, 0.36% of the lot coverage proposed 10%. We're well underneath that. Stormwater management, we're increasing the impervious area on the site by 14,800 square feet. That water will be collected off the roofs and directed to the retention basin, and through that process. Um, Install fencing around the pond and the bioretention bay, the livestock. The ERS looks for alternatives considered. Really weren't many alternatives if this were to remain as a farming operation. Certainly, we're doing the best we can in terms of preventing environmental pollution. Mr. Carr has worked hand in hand with NRCS and with USDA. They've helped develop the project and facilities. In fact, it was their requirements to provide the structures that we're proposing. Let's see, we've included an erosion and sedimentation control plan in the package, and the estimate to minimize the adverse impact, be it the sedimentation controls, is approximately $2,500. Those are generally the items that we looked at in preparing the environmental review statement. Again, with a lot of assistance and support from NRCS and USDA.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I guess, Joe, do you have any other comments or questions you'd like to address?
No, well, a couple quick questions. The intermittent stream, Bill, was it flagged as an ASSF?
I don't believe that it was flagged, Joe.
Okay, no, that's fine. I was just, if it was, I was going to say it should just be labeled as such, but if it's not identified that way, then we're good. And then just, I'm having trouble finding the full package, but I do have a plan here showing the typical erosion control wattle detail. And it has a stake driven right through the middle of the wattle, and would like to get that corrected on this and probably all other submissions. They've determined that driving the stake through the compost filter tube is not the way to go. It should be on the side.
Okay, we can make that adjustment.
Yeah, most details, even if you Google it, will show it differently now.
Okay, all right. We must have used an old detail there. Actually, I've got a reference. I don't physically show a detail, but we would certainly want to install that correctly, and that would certainly be a condition for the application favorable.
It's just, when we go out and look at the erosion controls, it's something we look for.
So I think Peter had a question about being close by to the property. He is 250 feet away, I believe. So he's not within the 200. So we just wanted to get some input from Travis about that.
Yeah, I was seeking clarification, Travis, just to make sure that I'm not in any conflict and or should recuse myself from this.
No, I don't think so, unless you feel, if you feel that you're conflicted in some way because you think that it's going to affect the way you vote because you live that close, then unless you find that way, then you're perfectly fine to vote. It's actually good because you're involved and you're close, and that's why we have local members, so.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that there wasn't any. Yep. Thank you.
I shared the screen with a larger parcel. I think Sue had some questions about where the cows would actually graze, if everyone can see that.
So there are several pastures throughout the site. And what's being done now is that there will be fencing around those areas to contain the cattle so that they do not get into the streams or the wetlands. Again, that's something that the NRCS is mandating that Mr. Carr do on the farm. So it's hard to tell on that picture, but there are several pastures throughout the property, and the pastures are all alternatingly grazed. I'm not sure if that's the appropriate term, but the cattle are moved around as appropriate, but they will be fenced so that they can't stray into the stream or into the pond.
Okay.
So
Right,
if we look at the old one,
See, that's what I was looking for was on the plan that you show, you have the sheltered areas clearly fenced in, and then on the east side of the stream, you have that fenced, and to the north of the pond, but then it doesn't show any other fencing to protect the rest.
Yeah, east and west of, I'm sorry, east and west of the stream will be fenced in, and I mean we didn't show the whole farm. We were really looking at this more in terms of the construction of the barns themselves, but any of his processes for raising the cattle are subject to the NRCS and USDA requirements.
So the cattle don't have
and
access.
they do come out and inspect, and they do enforce that.
Right.
Sorry?
The cattle don't have access to the south of the fence. I'm just using south as the up and down version, but if you're looking at the fence,
No,
where the basin is,
no, they can't. It's fenced in so that they are. You can kind of see on the site plan that there's a fence on either side of that stream. There's a fence along the southerly line.
right.
So they are contained.
But do they leave that
Keep them out
enclosed
of the
area? If they leave that enclosed area to go graze elsewhere, do they have a way then to?
Well, those areas are also fenced in, so that once they get out of this area, the wetlands are protected throughout the site.
So the wetlands are fenced off and the access to the pond. That was my concern was, I can't see that, because I know that was the biggest issue was to protect that pond from them standing in it and contaminating that water source. So, but it.
Yes, so they are prevented from going into the pond and keeping them outside of the stream.
Okay.
Susan, it's Joe.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Quick question, Bill. Did NCRS provide a minimum distance that fence should be from the pond? If so, they should probably just show that.
Yeah, it was 30 feet, but we've made it 50.
So if you could just add to the plan, 50-foot minimum. I mean, if you're making it, 30 is required.
Sure.
And you're proposing 50-foot minimum.
Yeah, we can show that. Sure.
Okay. And I just had a question about the 3 other, dotted line structures. Are those all temporary during construction or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Part of the soil erosion sedimentation control plan requires that we have a concrete washout area, a soil stockpile area, and those areas so that the contractor, which will actually be much of the work will be done by Mr. Carr. We want to keep control so that they're in designated areas.
Okay. All right. So, and Joe, so you feel comfortable with, or not comfortable, but it's acceptable, their stormwater plan? I guess that's the
Yes.
biggest thing is from the structures, that all calculates out or engineers out adequately.
Yeah, that's all pretty much cookbook, and it's right out of the manual. So
Okay. All right. Excellent.
you do that.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I do,
Rosemary?
if I may.
Yep.
Uh, This environmental review statement deals with the entire 113 acres plus or minus.
It was intended to obtain the permission for the barns.
Understand, however, it is
On
113
at the 115
acre parcel. I was having trouble because it
acre
didn't show it. you know, the 113 acres, but on page 6 of your narrative, you do say it is there. The other thing is the prohibited uses. Are they applicable to the other buildings presently on the site? There are currently a couple barns on the site, which may have some of those uses or materials in them. The other thing is this access road is going over private property. Do you have some type of an easement? And that's up in the top left-hand corner. That's another parcel that doesn't belong to this owner.
The owner of this
Bill, do you know?
property owns that. So the it.
We don't have a connection there.
You're cutting out, Bill.
Yeah, we're not hearing you, Bill. I think we lost his connection.
Yeah, I think so. We'll wait for him to come back because I know that is a question. It's just,
Yeah, I had that.
sorry.
I mean, I don't want to grant something that might be problematic down the road.
I see that same part you're talking about, Rosemary.
Right,
Yes,
and that's a state road, so I don't know then if this access to an optional construction entrance, does that need DOT?
I'm not, no, it's probably a driveway, Susan, but it's private property. It doesn't belong to this estate.
Well, did he say it was existing? I had to wait for him to come back. 'Cause
It's
that's
a
what
driveway,
It's an existing driveway?
but it's not, doesn't belong to the Roderick family, to my knowledge.
Jennifer, can you bring that? Oh, sorry, you just stopped sharing your screen. Can you bring that up and raise it from 50% to 100%?
Sure.
So we can all see the spot.
Oh, there's Bill.
So 100%. Okay.
That's better. Thank you.
All right, I just saw Bill again. Is he back? Bill, are you back?
Hello, can you hear me?
You're warbling, but you're almost there. Yeah.
This is Bill. I'm back. Somehow my connection got frazzled, like myself. I'm sorry. Last we had Rosemary was talking about the acreage and the structures out in the front. There are a couple structures on the property. There's an old barn. If you're driving down Main Road, you see the cow painted on. But there is no hazardous waste stored in there. That's been cleaned out recently by Mr. Carr. I'm not sure what was in there before, but it was mostly storage. And that's about where I lost my connection. I apologize.
And how about the barn below the trailer? Is that still in existence?
Yes.
What about the other parcel that doesn't belong to the Rodericks that has the construction entrance?
But it
Who's talking now? Bill, this was for you. The optional construction entrance goes over a parcel, and her question was if that's not part of the Roderick property, do you have permission to go over that? And my question was is that already an existing driveway, or do you need then to get something from DOT to access?
So it is an existing driveway. It's also owned by the Rodericks. So he does have permission to install that if necessary.
Okay. So that's a different parcel, but it's still the same owner. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, if you prefer, we can put the optional driveway back onto this lot. We thought we would do it immediately preceding the state highway. It would have a more effective use.
I don't want to see you go get a curb cut. I mean, I just want to make sure legally we don't, grant something that we're not supposed to
Sure.
grant.
Right, that makes sense.
Bill, just to go back to one of Rosemary's earlier questions, so there are no proposed changes to those existing structures on the frontage of the road that would affect this plan? No additional changes to those structures?
To the existing structures that Rosemary was referring to? No,
Yes.
there's no intention to expand those or modify those other than to just keep them in good repair.
Actually, my question was really for the prohibited
And
use.
that would, of course, need a building permit to do that.
And
Well,
Rosemary?
there's the use. There's an existing trailer on the site that's a mobile home,
yeah,
Right.
and there's several sheds, barns, if you want, if you will,
Milk
and
house.
those will continue to be used as for in conjunction with the farm operation. But the cows themselves will occupy the new facilities.
They'll be more like pole barns, will they not, Bob?
What's that? Pole barns? The existing ones? The new
new
buildings
ones.
are a pole barn type of
The new ones
construction
will
with a
be.
concrete floor, and
Right.
it actually has a concrete wall around, a partial wall around the sides.
Okay, I'm familiar with them.
and one last question, the existing well that you show, does that serve the new structures in addition to the existing? Or is there a different water supply for those new structures?
That's the hand dug well. That's not.
That's an existing hand dug well in terms of water for you install another well. Already did.
I believe that was also used by the parcel that I thought did not belong to them at one
And
time.
that's going to be used for the well. So there's a the well that you see on the plan there is a that well up towards Main Road is a hand dug well, and the well that's going to serve the animal facilities is located near the trailer. You can run our line out there already, and there's a line that connects to this area already. Okay.
Is that well not in use?
Where the access road comes through the stone wall, and is that well in use? No, that well is not being used.
Okay.
I believe, Bill, if I'm not mistaken, it used to be used by the resident of the parcel to the north that I questioned. The man used to come out and pump from there years and years ago. And the house is torn down.
Okay.
So the other well that you're referring to, though, is not cited on this plan, or not indicated, I should say.
That's correct. It's south of the. Yeah, it's south of that. It's on the we're near where the existing mobile home is, right on Main Road, southerly of the stream and the animal storage area.
And it's within the setback then that is required?
It doesn't.
Okay, I guess I have a couple last questions. Joe, do you need any kind of stormwater management plan for this, or was there one submitted to you for review, or you think everything's adequate that we don't need one?
You're talking about in operations and maintenance.
Yeah,
Again, this is, as Bill said originally, it's fairly simplistic. It's gone through NCRS as well as agricultural. And I think the increased impervious area has been addressed by the, what do you call it? The rain garden. So I don't know that you need anything else.
okay. And then the last question I had was, who does the SWIP reports on this? Who's going to be designated to do those? I mean, mostly I'm just concerned because it's, you know, so close to, well, it's in the watershed and it's close to wetlands. So I didn't know if Bill, if you were planning to do those. Or
I was planning on doing that.
Okay,
Construction period should be relatively short. So if the board doesn't mind, I could take that on my own and copy the board each week when we do the inspections.
all right. If you're going to do them, yeah, if you can please submit them, I don't know, to Jennifer so that we have them for the file.
Okay.
So we know that they're getting done. Okay,
Sure.
Photos should be included.
Yes, yes.
okay. Right, and Joe could, yeah, let us,
Susan, just,
yes,
I think the most important SWIP inspection is the initial one. When, you know, just, and you can actually tie that to the building permit that, you know, no construction should start before those erosion controls are in place. Once they're in place, I don't see a lot of activity that's going to jeopardize them. So, I mean, just a weekly walkthrough would certainly be sufficient.
all right.
Should be.
All right, we just need to take care of our wetlands and watershed, so I just,
NRCS has indicated that they won't let any construction start until the appropriate erosion control is also in place. So they share your sentiments.
great. Okay, does any other members of the board have any other questions, or does the applicant have any questions of us?
So I have one.
Oh, is that Dave?
Yes.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The pond that is located up towards the front near Main Road, is that a man-made pond or is that actually a pond that's been there forever?
It looks like it was man-made, but it was been around long before I've been in the area as Mr. Carr. So it's hard to say. But that's been a farm for many years, and I believe it was used as a, you know, developed as a cow pond, watering the animal.
That's what I figured.
There were some issues with the state a long, long time ago on that pond.
Yeah, I believe the cows used to, you know, do their thing right in the pond, and hopefully with the fencing, we're going to clean that up and help non-quit pond and the environment.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from anybody?
No, good here.
Okay, all right, so what I want to do is just go through this. First, Mr. Carr, I want to thank you for your patience. I know it's been a year since you were here, but I think, you know, you pulled together an environmental review statement and give us the information that we can comfortably move forward with this to give you a positive recommendation. Just to review, we have two Conservation Commission endorsements from 8/24/20 and from 4/21/19. We have two steer reports from April of last year and July of this year. And we have the DEM letter from Howard Cook, the Division of Agriculture, with a positive endorsement. We have the USDA letter from Melissa Hayden that you've worked with closely endorsing this project. We have the environmental review statement, and you also submitted a soil erosion sediment control plan. So I don't think there's anything more we can ask of you at this point. So again, we appreciate all the information you provided us, and what we will do is send a positive, well, we'll take a vote on it to send a positive letter of recommendation to the building official so you can move forward with this project. So do I have a motion to endorse this environmental review statement?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And do I have a second?
Second.
And any comments or questions? Okay, so we have to do a voice vote, roll call vote. So we'll go through that. So we've got a first and a second to endorse this project. Okay, so we have Rosemary,
Yes.
Susan, yes, Dave,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Christine.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. You have
Thank
5 yes.
thank you very much
And no nos.
for your patience. I do have another one this evening. And I'm going to try and switch computer.
I know. Are you in Little Compton?
Yes.
That explains it. The end of the earth. Okay, excellent.
Hello.
Old wires.
The end of the earth.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're all good to go on that one. Thank you very much.
Can you guys hear me?
Is it?
It's Amanda.
Oh, hey, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
I'm sorry. I'm like trying to do this from my phone and I'm like trying to vote with you guys.
How long have you been here?
For a few minutes.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I guess since I didn't know you were here, we've already voted. We'll go along. But are you your Galaxy S8? I assume?
Yes.
Oh, hello. Well,
As soon as I get home, I'll be I'll go on my laptop.
oh, that's your phone. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll note that you're now present for the meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right. All right.
Okay.
Moving on. Next, we have Southern Rhode Island Properties Advantage Development Group LLC. It's a preliminary plan and development plan review, public hearing, proposed self-storage facility, major land development, plat 107, lot 801, East Side Progress Road, South Side Industrial Way, Industrial and Planned Development Park zoning districts, review and possible vote. Time clock of 90 days takes us to November 5th, 2020. So all people that are present for this application, guess if you can. You don't
So I have Molly and Joe McPhee. Who else is here? Can they tell me?
I know. Can those people introduce themselves and where they're
Oh,
from?
okay. They're raising their hand. All right.
Okay, so Molly Titus is the engineer from Dupree. I'll get that one. I mean, they need to speak up, I guess, and tell us who they are. I guess so do I. Okay, who else is here for Advantage Storage?
Good evening, Madam Chair, David
Oh.
Martland.
Okay.
And with us this evening, we also have Molly Titus,
Okay.
Joseph McPhee, Tony Miller. I believe also John King is with us.
Okay, I'll bring him in.
And you're the solicitor, correct? Am I correct?
Yes,
The attorney.
yes, I am representing
Yeah. You're
the applicant.
attorney. Yeah. And Joe McPhee, who is he what is he representing?
Joe McPhee is the architect.
Oh, okay.
Molly Titus is the engineer of record.
Right.
Tony Miller is the consultant. John King is the owner rep.
Do you have a landscape architect here?
No, I believe Molly submitted plans produced by her office, who they do have a landscape architect that
All right. There's no
submitted those plans.
but that person's not here. Okay. Okay. All right. Welcome. think.
Yes, so
Yeah. I think where we want to start with this, because this is there's a lot of information here, a bigger project. We'll have you present your project, and then we'll go back and we'll break it down into sections for a more detailed review for questions and answers. I think will work a little easier to get through things. So if everybody's still with us here, you can go ahead and make your presentation.
And I gave access to sharing your screen, so you should be able
Thank
to
you.
do that.
Okay.
I think maybe the best place to begin is, well, to thank the board for getting together this evening to hear this application. We're here for a preliminary plan approval in connection with a major land development as well as development plan review. We were last before the board back at the beginning of the year, January or February of this year, where we received a master plan approval for the development of the property located in the Tiverton Industrial Park. The property itself is located at the intersection of Industrial Way and Progress Road, sort of on the south side of Industrial Way and the east side of Progress Road. This is property that was purchased by my client this was purchased from the town of Tiverton for development of a self-storage facility. We were before the board back at the beginning of the year for that master plan approval, and really there haven't been any significant changes relative to the site plans associated with that prior approval, but obviously that approval allowed us to move forward to obtain the necessary permits from the state relative to the RIPDs and things of that nature. What's being proposed is a self-storage facility that is approximately 3.5 stories in height on this 3.3 acre piece of parcel that's designated as lot 801 on plat 107. The board held extensive hearings and testimony on the master plan approval and did provide a unanimous approval 7-0, making the appropriate findings of fact relative to what's required in a land development application. The first is that the project needs to be deemed to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and satisfactorily addressed any of those issues or inconsistencies. The board found that this met the comprehensive plan and was consistent. It's a business development within the industrial park. Additionally, nothing's changed relative to that particular issue, and the development remains the same. The second standard that the board is concerned of relative to development here is whether or not the proposed development is in compliance with the standards and provisions of the zoning ordinance. At the master plan stage, the board found that, in fact, yes, we met all of the requirements of the zoning relief. No zoning relief was necessary. All setback and dimensional use regulations were met. This is an appropriate use, not just in the industrial park, but also within the industrial zone itself, which is the underlying zoning district. I know that in the memo this evening, the staff memorandum raised a couple of questions or comments relative to the amount of lot coverage as well as the landscape requirement, and those will be discussed in greater detail by Molly Titus and Joe McPhee. The third finding that the board needs to consider this evening is whether or not there's a significant negative environmental impact from the proposed development. Now, at the master plan stage, obviously, we're only dealing with conceptual plans, and this is where between that hearing and now is where there's been a significant amount of the engineering done. So Molly Titus will be addressing those issues as to the existing site conditions, the proposed site conditions, and how we deal with stormwater runoff management, sewer, and utilities. And I would suggest that based on her testimony, you'll find that, in fact, there will not be any negative impacts associated with this development from an environmental perspective. The fourth issue is whether or not the proposed development would result in the creation of any lots or parcels that would have physical constraints. This is not a subdivision, so we're not creating any additional lots. Rather, there was a merger of a number of lots together to create this larger 3.3 acre parcel. It's got frontage on both Industrial Way and Progress Way. The main access for the development will be on Progress Way. There'll be an emergency access off of Industrial Way so that we have 2 points of access in the event that there was an issue to be dealt with. Finally, the fifth finding is that all proposed land developments and all subdivision lots have adequate and permanent physical access on the public street. We've got physical access on 2 streets. We've received permission from Department of Public Works for curb cuts relative to those streets. I would ask now if Molly could present her testimony on the existing site conditions, the proposed site conditions, including the stormwater management and the state permits that were obtained, as well as the status of all the utilities that are being proposed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. This is Molly Titus from Dupree Engineering. I'm going to try to share a screen. Maybe. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Again, so as Dave mentioned, we're at Assessor's Plat 107, Lot 801. It's on the southwest corner of Industrial Way and Progress Road. It's located within the Tiverton Industrial Park. The existing site, as shown here as an aerial view, is wooded, as is majority of the existing industrial park. The property is owned by Southern Rhode Island Properties and is proposed development by Advantage Self-Storage. So here's the proposed site plan. This layout is exactly the same as it was at the time of master plan. The building footprint, access drives, parking, and approximate locations of underground infiltration and detention for stormwater have remained the same. This building meets the dimensional requirements for front and rear yard setbacks. It meets building height. It was noted during the staff report that we inaccurately reported building lot coverage instead of lot coverage. So this 19.5% is building lot coverage, total lot coverage, including all impervious, is 41.8%, which is still far below the allowable 70% lot coverage. We are proposing 9 parking spaces. Based on a warehouse storage use, there's 1 space required. We are providing 9 for up to a maximum of 3 employees and users of the building to have parking for these front storage units. We've got 3 full access driveways. All of these driveways are 2-way access. We've got a fenced perimeter for the rear of the building. You can see these 2 gates, one located at the rear and one at the side of the building. These access points will be accessible for emergency vehicles and all users of the building. For utilities, this is our drainage plan. And as David mentioned, we've gone through Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management and received a RIPDES permit as well as a wetlands permit. There is a forested freshwater wetland to the rear of the parcel. It has a 50-foot buffer that we stay without. We stay out of for all proposed work. And the RIPDES permit covers soil and land disturbance as well as construction activity. The proposed system combines storage and infiltration. As it is designed, the roof of the building is infiltrated in this underground infiltration system, so chambers below the pavement. And the pavement and rear areas go to the sand filter for water quality treatment first, and then detention for quantity and rate relief back into the wetland. These systems meet all the state requirements for recharge, water quality, and rate to the neighboring properties.
Molly, could I just request, I think you're at about 50% magnification. Could you bring it up a little bit?
I can try. Let me see if I have a mic option here.
Well, I'm not talking about the volume. I'm talking about the image.
Image.
Image, yeah. If you bring your cursor down, see if it, yeah. If you could bring, that's better. Thank you so much.
You got it. So infiltration, water quality, and then detention in the rear of the site. The next image we have is the actual drainage pipes creating all these systems. And then additionally on this plan are the utilities. So this site is serviced by an existing water main and Progress Road. You've got a domestic service and a fire service proposed. These have been reviewed by the water department and are acceptable. Fire flow tests were done, not by us, but by the department, confirming adequate pressure for these connections. There is a proposed sewer service. The industrial park sewer was designed at the time that the industrial park was designed decades back and never constructed in Progress Road. This project is going to construct the first 2 manholes for the town along in the right of way and then leave an additional stub for future connections. As noted in the comments, this sewer line will need additional permits from Tiverton Wastewater. But in talks with Tiverton Wastewater, which I know you have a letter from Sarah Stearns, their director, their engineer, she's not prepared to review the design of this line in connection until the project has passed preliminary plan and building review, because she doesn't want to review it more than once. Not that she won't review it, but she wants to make sure the project is, unchanging before they go through and detailed review the engineering of a sewer line. That has already been designed and approved by the town previously. These inverts, slopes, manhole locations were all part of the industrial park design previously approved. She has confirmed our location of tie is acceptable, and due to 3 employees within the building, there's more than adequate capacity and leaves opportunity for much bigger users within the industrial park. Electric service is provided. There's overhead wires on the south side of Progress Road. We're proposing to have a drop service and then feed underground to a transformer located to the right of the building and then underground into the building. Additionally, a propane tank is proposed. This tank is located over here. It's required to be a minimum of 50 feet from buildings. And right now this is located 60 feet from the transformer and 105 feet from the building. There is no gas service for this building, as there is no gas service in Progress Road. So the landscaping plan, I know there's comments, and this is the area up for discussion tonight, but I'll speak about the rest, which is we've provided the 15-foot landscape buffer along the front. We've proposed hollies and birch and maple, screening the front of the building. We have full buffering around propane tanks, transformers, some plants to the rear, adjacent to the detention pond, and then also along this retaining wall. And this area is the area for proposed selective clearing, as mentioned on the architectural plan, and will be part of the view shed review. It's acknowledged that we've provided some buffering here, but that perhaps some additional plantings would be required in this area where we're not clearing native and existing vegetation to provide that 15-foot buffer. In summary of the site, that's kind of the overview, the details, what we have for permits and approvals at this time. I don't know if we want to do engineering questions now, or if you want to go on to the building with Mr. McPhee. Susan, that's kind of...
I know. I think it would help. I'll ask the board what their general sense. I think it would be easier if we focus on some of this stuff first before we go into all the design elements.
Okay.
That would be easier for me. How the rest of the board members feel, unless you want to hear the rest of the presentation first before we then go back to the beginning and then start going through this in sections. Anybody have a preference? Going once, going twice?
I like divvying them up, talk design later and look at the land use plan now. That's great.
Okay. All right. Anybody else want to voice an opinion? Okay. All right. Why don't we start and then start going through the sections of what you guys have presented now. I think, I know I'm trying to look at this to try to figure out how we can not go back over things over again. So I want to start with, I guess, Joe. And if you can cover your comments in relation to the grading, the drainage, the stormwater, things that are on the plans first, and all your comments, so we can get through all that part.
Yeah, thank you. Molly, I think you did a good job with the presentation. We'll start there. I just had a couple of notes that I wrote down. I think you said you have permits. You have a PAP permit from RIDOT for the state road?
No, we don't have a state road. We have local DPW.
Oh, industrial way is not state?
No.
No.
Okay.
Let's do all the utilities as a separate section, Joe. All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll do all that later.
And then just going to the drainage, you noted the roof drain goes into the subsurface storage in the front of the building. And just for clarification for the board, that's actually a very good place and use for it. Roof runoff does not require pre-treatment. whereas runoff from the road does. And Molly's told us that everything from the road and parking lot goes into the sand filter, which is pre-treatment, which will offer pre-treatment and infiltration. So I think that was done well. And then, did we ever receive any type of written response to the comments, the July 23rd review?
We didn't get them. I haven't seen them.
Oh,
What, from your report, Joe?
yeah.
Are you talking about your report? Where is the July? I don't know. I'm looking for them in my pack. Do we have those? For, do you know, like the stereo?
I'm actually checking right now to see the transmittal letter that I sent with it, that I would have sent with it, to see if I have a copy of that.
For a report.
If you want, I can bullet through them. There's nothing really earth shattering. I think Molly has her.
Yes,
DEM
we
approvals.
submitted a letter, should be part of the backup documents. Steer review letter dated July 23rd, 2020. It should be in that
forwarded. Did anybody forward that on to Depreet for them to review? That was just
probably no, because we're talking about it today.
okay. All right, so I guess, Joey, if you can go through your comments.
Yeah, again, Molly, I don't think there's anything earth shattering. I think Rosemary would pick up on a lot of these things, just little details on the plan. Permanent bounds should be provided. All areas included in the limited disturbance should be encompassed by erosion controls, or a minimum erosion controls should be included at the bottom of the slope southwest. But again, you've got a DEM permit. So I think that's something really we need to just make sure it gets implemented when construction starts. She had please label the 50-foot perimeter wetland on all plans. Again, that's just clarification for review in the future. Label the construction access on sheet 6 of 15. Provide detail as applicable. I don't know what that looks like.
It's on the screen. Yeah, it's shown
Okay, so yeah,
in the legend, but not, yeah. So right at standard 0.9.
Right, and I think that's all you would have to do is, construction access, Rhode Island stated, what is it, 9.9?
Yep, 9.9.
So I think if you do that, then it's easy enough to know exactly what it is. I knew what it was, but I think we're trying to get it so that the average person understands. Soil erosion control legend shows an infiltrating area, though an infiltrating area is not shown on the plan. Please clarify, is what she wrote. Maybe, I'm just reading these again since back in July. I understand the sand filter. Maybe just a note, sand filter is an infiltrating area.
Okay.
Provide water quality calcs. That has all been done because you have a DEM approval. Provide call out on detail plans for what appears to be a wall constructed along the driveway in the northeast corner of the project. So where's that wall?
It's here.
Okay. How tall is that wall? Is that wall going to require a structural calculations? And
that wall will be Versalock, which will end up getting a structural stamp at,
okay.
construction.
And that's fine. Just when they do the Versalock, just coordination, just remember you do show guardrail.
Yep.
And the straps do go far, if they go far enough back, you're driving guardrail through the straps, so.
Yep.
It can
The
be
minimum
done.
distance is 5 feet from face a wall to face a guardrail, and we have 7 feet to allow room to install that.
Okay, okay. Like I said, I know you can actually install the posts through the fabric. It just needs to be noted, so when they're building it.
Yeah.
Provide an elevation view or a section of the retaining wall for the planning board. Again, just a quick elevation would be, again, I'm thinking, for the reviewers, what type of wall is it? You said it's a Versalock wall, so.
Can you tell
Or
us what
equal,
Versalock-
unilock, or.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like saying Xerox machine.
Yeah.
Can you explain for us non-engineers what that means? A Versalock?
It's a modular block wall. It's built in courses and stacked, and it uses GeoGrid as the means of stabilization, and it's laid in layers. So the wall is low on the wetland side and high on the building side. So they start stacking courses, then they lay fabric, then they lay more earth, and it's basically an earth stabilized wall. You've got the blocks for the face, but the mass of earth and the GeoGrid is providing the stability for the wall.
So simply put, it's the same, it's your landscape block wall that you buy at Home Depot with some geotextile behind it to provide it some structural support. Back in the old days, they used to use railroad ties, and every now and then they take a railroad tie and put it in perpendicular to the wall. They called it a dead man. It's the same principle.
Okay, that helps.
But for what it would look like, Susan, is you see the blocks at Home Depot whenever you go into that section, and are they 6x12, 6x18 blocks, various sizes and shapes.
And the wall won't be visible since the site is high and the wall faces the wetland.
Oh, okay. I think
If you look at a lot of the bridge construction going on, they're actually building that type of wall for the abutments now.
Okay.
They're fairly economical and obviously provide good support.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The last couple of items.
Please provide call out for driveway and parking area material on the plan, not just in detail. That's, again, I imagine it's a paved parking lot.
Yes.
It's not pervious pavement.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Tara, I know you're there somewhere. Can you just make sure that you get a copy of this to Freet? Yeah, just forward it to them so they have a copy. All right. I guess, Joe, could you go over the grading? I need somebody to explain all the grading on the site a little better so we understand better what's going on. There's a lot of new lines, the green lines on one of the sheets.
Green lines on one of the sheets.
Oh, that's the soil erosion plan.
Oh, is that what it is?
Same contours, they're just shown lighter.
Yeah, but the front shows a lot of elevation, I guess, and the back shows a lot of elevation change. So I just want to I can't get very 3D on it. You can explain a little better for us what it is now and what it's going to be after, the before and after.
Molly, you want to field
yeah,
that?
Sure. So right now the high point is right here at the corner of Industrial and Progress.
Okay.
It basically entirely slopes towards the wetland edge. So if you picture this elevation is up at 214, you've got a high along here. There's a high point at the other end of the site. Everything pitches back towards the wetland. So elevation 214, back at this back wetland edge, it's 184 is the existing grade.
Okay.
Thing slopes to the back now. Right now, this roadway is at 202. We're proposing our finished floor at 205, so just a little higher than the road, which is how you like to see buildings so they don't look like they're in a hole. And then the back of the building is an additional story lower. So the building is kind of built into this site. So you've got a building that looks about level from the road. You've got 206 here, 205.5. So the building will be, you know, at eye level, doors at grade coming from the road. And then this ramps down to provide an additional story in the back and to make this constructible and that you don't have walls and more earthwork than is needed to fit this site.
Yeah, that helps. Is there a lot of, so if that's higher there, is there gonna have to be blasting to clear out where the building is, or are you just going, I mean, I don't know if it's dirt.
We did extensive borings, every 15 to 20 feet covering this site. And this is planned to not blast. We are not removing ledge. We may be sitting on top of it. We may be fastening to it for foundations, but there's no intent to excavate it.
Oh, okay, so when you change grade to the back, or
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm just saying, I guess, so if there's any change in grade where the building is, it'll all be soil or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, to accommodate. So
Yep, that kind of dictated the shape of the building.
Yeah. So what happens from, I don't know, the left-hand side, you know, where it has all the ledge down, you have your limited disturbance. Yeah, so from there and where the heavier dotted broken line is, down towards the road. No, the other side.
This. So nothing is happening here.
But what's the grade difference from there down to the road?
From here down to this road?
Yeah.
Or here down to our road?
Well, no, from that point down to Industrial Way, what's that kind of grade slope?
Okay. So Industrial Way is at 196, right?
Okay.
This is 214.
Okay.
So 18 feet from here up to here. And this is an existing ledge knob. A lot of it is exposed rock, which is
the triangle part is ledge.
This area.
You're saying that triangle is ledge. Okay, primarily ledge.
There's rocks, boulders, ledge. So there's no work proposed.
Okay, so that's ledge. And then all the lines, is that going to be earth or rock?
Earth.
That's going to be earth. Okay. All right.
Got a 2-to-1 slope?
Yes.
So, yeah, so they're probably, are you going to, I want to say armor it, but it's going to be riprap or something like that, because you're really not going to be able to put grass and maintain.
There's riprap at the base, and based on a lot of our testing, I think when this starts to get excavated, the rock that is exposed will remain and will be stable. Okay. You know, it kind of, like I said, we did a lot of testing to find out where this face is, and it will probably just end up being exposed on this back.
That's fine. The point I was making, if you try to put lumen seed on there, erosion is going to be a problem. Stability would be a problem, could be a problem. And maintenance is definitely a problem on a 2-to-1 slope. But basically, you have to go out there with a weed whacker. You can't get any type of machinery up there.
Okay.
But to Susan, to answer your question, as Molly said, the peak of the hill is about 214. The first floor elevation of the building is 205, so it's about a foot, about a 10-foot grade difference on the building side.
Right.
I get those numbers right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have questions on some of that? I just lost my sheet. About grading and stormwater. And so Joe, all the calculations for stormwater, because you have the DEM permit, so that was all approved, right?
Yeah, it's all approved, and
so that's what we need confirmed for this go around. Okay. Okay. Um, I'm trying to figure out where we should go with this next. Does any other members of the board have questions on this? I know this is a lot.
I just wondered, you stated, so there is no pervious pavement anywhere?
No, no. Concrete, sidewalk, asphalt paving for access ways.
Oh, I know. I had
Peter,
go ahead, Joe.
Peter, just for clarification as to why I question that is, pervious pavement is great. It does work. But it is a nightmare when it comes to maintenance. It's really got a stringent maintenance plan. You can't sweep it. You can't salt it. You can't sand it. You literally have to vacuum it, and get a contractor out there with the big vacuums to do it. It's great if you're trying to get your water quality credits. It's great to put it on a plan, but if you don't keep up with that maintenance, it's useless within 2 to 3 years.
Right, but the other elements that are in place are enough to sort of mitigate any benefit from the pervious pavement. Okay.
Correct. By virtue of a DEM permit, the detention area, the sand filter area, the underground storage are adequately sized for the design storms and per RIDEM requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The last couple of questions I had was, one is, in the notes you talked about the wall, and I think a couple other things that would be a geotech engineer for slopes and wall. And my question is that something that would need to be done now, or is that something that will be happen like when you submit for the building plans?
Yeah, that would be a building permit.
Okay, so we don't need to verify any of that information now, Joe?
No,
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't something we should be covering. And then my other question was, Joe, would you recommend that the town get a stormwater operation maintenance agreement when we do all our any agreements?
I thought there was one submitted already.
Yeah, it was part of the submission.
Right. So, I mean, you recommend that we have that in the documents for.
Molly, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you have to record the stormwater management plan, correct?
Yeah, it has to get executed prior to
recording
certificate of occupancy, I believe.
Okay. Rick, are you on the line? DPW Rick, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I am. It just takes me a while to unmute.
Oh,
and yes,
okay.
we would be looking for the O&M manual too for the retention detention areas.
Okay. And do you have any comments or questions as far as any of the stormwater drainage or management, since these are town roads?
No, as Joe said, the DEM has approved it, and DPW feels that's certainly adequate.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay.
Susan,
Yep.
you should have a copy of it. I've got a copy of the stormwater management plan dated 2/19/20. I imagine that.
I think I have three of those binder things at home. I don't have them with me because I don't tend to read them, honestly, because they're beyond me. So I leave that to you guys, to legal and engineers, to read those and interpret them for us. And if you guys, they pass the test with you and give us your recommendation, then I think that's where we go with it, because I certainly don't have any expertise to evaluate the information in them. So, but I do, yeah, I think you did submit three: a soil erosion, probably stormwater, I can't remember, something else. So I think we're good with that. Okay. So let's move on. I wanted to go through all the utility items that were, municipal utilities and things that were presented. I think we could go with that next. So the first one in everybody's packet, I'll just go in order of what's in the packet, and then Molly, if you want to comment or anything else or answer questions. So the first one is from Sarah Stearns from Tiverton Wastewater, basically saying that there is adequate sewer. So Tiverton Wastewater is not part of the town entity, so they do. So the applicant does all their bonding and plans and approvals and all that through Tiverton Wastewater. As long as they tell us that they're aware of it and they can, accept this, then it's between the applicant and Tiverton Wastewater to come to an agreement, and they wouldn't obviously, be in operation until all that's satisfied to get their certificate of occupancy. So we basically are just looking for the basic agreements that they're aware of it, that they know they're putting sewer in, and it shows on the plans where it's going to be and how it connects to the building. I think that's pretty much the extent of what our responsibility is at this point for sewer. So, and everything she says there is that, it doesn't constitute approval because that will come later, all the fine tuning once they get the plans to the point where they want to evaluate them. But we do have that go ahead from them. Is there anybody questions on that? Okay, so the next one is, yes?
Rosemary, who
Yeah.
pays for the sewer line?
The applicant?
Okay.
Yes, yes. That was part of your purchase and sale, I believe, was agreeing to run the sewer line up to the point that it was run at.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Right.
It's an obligation of the applicant to construct that sewer line up to
Right.
that second manhole.
Right, right.
Appreciate the answer, Mr. Martland. The planning board was not involved in the beginning negotiations. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, so on to the DPW letter. Rick, if you just want to address what your comments were. You have sewer, plan and design, stormwater, and street design. If you just want to review that for everyone.
As far as the sewer goes, we do have some ownership of the sewer line on Industrial Way itself, but we're happy with Tiverton Wastewater District's review of that, so we don't have any comments on that. On the stormwater, again, the stormwater is fine for DPW, and the curb cuts, obviously they're not yet applied to DPW, but we have no issue with the location of the curb cuts that would be made.
Okay. Okay. The one thing that I wanted to comment on in relation to this, that it didn't dawn on me on the master plan, but that I've become aware of now, is that Rick, if you could tell us that to the left, what is that, the western side of their boundary line is labeled as a right-of-way, and it's property of the town. So my question is, one is what that is, that property, if it's an easement or right-of-way for the road, and if it is, then I believe the applicant would have to get approval from the town council for that driveway and get an access easement agreement from the council for that driveway, in addition to a curb cut. We don't have the authority, because that's not part of your property that actually fronts on Industrial Way. It's town property. See that? Yeah, where that is, that's town property.
This is part of the road right of way for Industrial Way. So it's the same here. We have frontage on Progress and Industrial.
Right. So Rick, can you explain? That's why I want Rick to explain to me, what does that mean that that's right of way for Industrial Way? Who's I guess I want to know is who owns that property?
Yes, Yes, Sue, to my knowledge, DPW, not DPW, DPW maintains it, but the town owns Industrial Way all the way to the circular cul-de-sac where where what I would call the northern entrance to Longplex is located.
So what does that mean as far as, because it's not actual road, but it's right of way? I mean, Travis, I don't know if you need to explain this. Is this, are they crossing property that, onto property that belongs to the town that they need to get permission from the council for? Or is this considered actually part of the road? So their property borders onto road. I mean, it doesn't border onto the road, but it borders onto the right of way.
So Susan, I think, and council should weigh in, but right of way or town road are pretty much one and the same. So, you know, any town road has, it's within the town's right of way. So it's a public, it's a town accepted road.
Well, wait a minute. It's incipiently dedicated, correct?
Again, this is why I deferred back to council.
Right.
Travis, are you?
I
No,
need to interrupt really quickly.
I think now that
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to excuse myself from the meeting. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, an incipient dedication, as I understand it, involves when a private landowner would propose a subdivision of property and lay out roads shown on a plan. And this is prior to the new subdivision rules and regulations, that the recording of the plan would act as an incipient dedication. Presently, however, there is deemed both a dedication and acceptance on the part of a town under the present rules and regulations that have been developed in the new enabling. I say new, the 1990s enabling legislation relative to subdivisions. So, given that, in fact, this was a town-owned and platted subdivision, the layout of those town roads is a dedication to the public for the use of those roads. And they laid out lots with reference to those roadways shown on the plat, Industrial Way and Progress Road. So from our perspective, legally, we believe there's road frontage, street frontage on both Industrial Way and Progress Road, that those are town-owned roadways and would, just like Main Road, or would require the DPW to issue the appropriate curb cuts, but we would not have any further permitting beyond that to the town council.
Okay, Travis?
Yes, could you, I got kicked off. I'm sorry. I apologize. Second time tonight. Can you just catch me up to where I'm being injected right now?
Do you have the plan in front of you?
I'm looking at the screen that's being shared.
Right. So the curb or the driveway, the back driveway. My question was that strip of land from their boundary line, their western boundary, to Industrial Way, if that strip of land, I don't know if it's town property, but it's considered the right of way, do they need to get, is it just automatically understood then that they have access to the road from there, or do they need to get this before the town council because they're basically crossing town onto, I don't know, they're crossing a right of way, or it's crossing a piece of property to get to the road? I don't understand it.
I believe they would have a right of way to access the road.
Yeah, Susan, if I can interrupt, every road has a right of way. There's a full width, and it just designates how wide the road could be if the town chose to pave all of it, basically. So
It's an easement.
it's just, that's the town's land to build a road. They could put a sidewalk halfway down the middle of that land. They could do nothing with it. Is the area designated for the roadway, and the road has to fall within it. That is all. And the limit.
That's my question, I guess, because the road isn't there.
The road is there.
So,
The right
Susan,
of way starts from here and goes over to here. So
Right.
this is
That's considered all actual road.
correct.
Yes. The
Okay.
paved area does not define the road. The
Okay.
two lines Molly just pointed to defines the road. So Molly, again, if you point to the two lines, so
Yep.
the
Our
dark line with
property
about
line, this starts the road, and then this ends the road.
right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
It's an easement, and I believe when we got this from the state, I believe it was more than 40 feet, if recollection serves me. But again, this was way back in the day.
Okay. All right, so that's considered road, not town property? I mean, it's town property, but it's road. And is that true for the part that swings around onto Progress Road too? Is that going to be considered right of way also?
Right here, this whole,
No.
see this right of way, this is the Progress Road right of way from this
Then-
line.
But then this left corner.
The corner,
Yeah.
I believe the corner at one point in time that the town was going to hold on to that so that they could put some kind of signage. This is way back.
Right, so does that fall
that's
into
In
the,
fact,
so is that going to fall
a
into?
lot.
Does that fall into right of way, or does that that's considered town property as a different?
That's why the boundary is there, I think.
I think it's a parcel, is it not, Molly?
I actually think the right of way flares out if you look at the mapping right now. I know there were parcels. It
I mean, I
could,
think that's how it's labeled on your plans. I just am not clear about,
hold on, let's go to the survey.
yeah.
there you go. So no, I agree with Molly. That corner is actually part of the road. So I mean, where it says where it reads Progress Road, the road is 50 feet or something wide. When it gets to the intersection, it is actually much wider. So that way, if the town does decide to put up some type of signage or whatever they
Big
want to do,
radiuses or,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so that's all considered right of way of the road. But it's still,
yeah, right of way and road are usually, a road is placed within a right of way.
all right. So the decisions for anything within that falls under DPW?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, I just
Be in the
wanna-
town council.
Yes, and if I may, Sue,
Yeah.
DPW encounters this every day. Industrial Way, of course, is a particularly wider right of way in that case, but anybody who gets a curb cut, they cut across the grass to go from their property line to the actual asphalt pavement or a sidewalk. So this is a common occurrence where DPW gives a curb cut from the actual pavement to their property line. And it might be across sidewalk, as I said, or grass.
Okay. Okay. All right, that helps. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments then about DPW? Okay.
I'm all set for my comments. Thank you, Sue.
Okay. Thanks, Rick. All right, I'm gonna go on to North Tiverton Fire District. And that is the water that supplies the business park. So they're saying that they do have availability for water for adequate pressure for 3 people. I guess that was 15, yeah, 15 times 3 gallon, so 3 times 15 gallons a day. My question with that was, I know it doesn't fall under our purview. I assume this is going to have sprinklers inside for fire suppression.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if the fire department could, or who calculates how much water volume and pressure that takes, in addition to just supplying water for flushing of toilets and a sink.
That will all be reviewed as part of building permit as well. They'll have to provide calculations, improve pressure and adequate service for this building.
Okay, especially because the power plant's down the road, and I know what all their demands for volume and pressure are. So I know we had gotten to the point where sometimes we were saying for developments we wanted adequate water volume and pressure. You're saying we could go ahead and approve this, but then it still falls upon ultimately the building official and the fire department and water department to make sure there's adequate volume and pressure to service this.
Engineer.
Yeah, the fire protection engineer. There's a fire protection engineer who does those calculations based on the available pressure in the street. He will size the pipes to provide the coverage required.
And part of that calculation that, again, it is tied all to the building permit. But if there isn't sufficient pressure in the street, the applicant would have to put in a natural pumping station within the building or on the property that would provide the pressure required for those sprinklers. But again, that's all tied into the fire department and building inspectors' review of the plans and their permits.
Okay. So yes, so just so it's clear then that any additional, I guess, engineering that it took to make it work would fall on the applicant to provide, not the town. Is that true?
Correct. If they want a building permit.
Right. It's up to them to make sure there's adequate volume, water, and pressure for their toilets and their sprinkler system. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other questions about water availability? Okay. All right. Then we have the Tiverton Fire Department letter. It was the placement of the 30,000 gallon propane tank, saying that they have adequate distance from the building. I'd asked that you show fencing, but they wanted to see some kind of bollards or security on the plans. And also, I don't know if you have any detail. My question was, is that propane going to be piped into the building? Because I didn't see a line.
To heat the building.
So how does it get there? I don't see it. Am I not seeing the line that says how it gets from the tank to the building?
No, there's not a pipe drawn at this time, but it will run here.
Okay. Can you put a pipe in?
Yes.
All right, I think, usually for the fire department, we'd like to see it, and we're required on other plans or something like that, would be, to show more detail on in your notes of what the propane tank, like the elevation, what is, if it's concrete pad that it's on, what the fencing around it looks like. If you're going to have any safety bollards, all the things that the fire department was specifying, like the detail in the plans and how it gets into the building.
Extensively in the codes that are required to permit a tank of that size and that nature. There's a whole list of requirements that we'll have to abide by.
Okay, so are you saying then that would be at the building officials?
That's a separate permit actually that gets applied for typically by the tank provider and installer. It was done well after the fact on the neighboring project.
Okay. All right, so I guess I need to ask somebody, Joe or somebody, you feel like that this is adequate representation for a preliminary plan, or do you want to see any more detail of this?
No, I think it meets what's required for site plan. I think the fire department had requested that there'd be bollards and a fence, and I don't know if there's a detail for that. But again, that's part of the application for the fence and bollards around the permit. As far as the integral workings of it, you know, piping and meters and stuff, that's well beyond our purview at
Yeah, I didn't want
this.
that. I didn't want that. It was like the land use portion of it. But I would like to see the line. I mean, you have all the other utilities drawn, how they get to the building. I'd like to see how the tank, where, you know, not complicated, but just where that line's going to be on the plan.
I believe the landscape plan has a fence at least. So
Yeah, there's fencing shown. That's this line. The dotted is concrete pad.
Right.
The oval is the tank. So.
Right, right. It's a freestanding tank at this point, so if it's going in the building. Okay, then anybody else have any other questions about it? Okay. Then we'll go on to the DEM, insignificant alteration permit letter. Shows from the RIPD's permit and the wetlands preliminary determination. My question is, it says that it's site plans submitted with the application for DEM on March 10th, 2020. The plans you submitted to us are dated July. If you can please submit the copy of the March 10th plans so that
Sure.
Steve and Jennifer can review those to make sure that they match to what we're reviewing. Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? No. Okay. Well, I've asked all my questions on utilities. Does anybody else have any?
On this part,
As Peter?
not
Oh,
not at this
not on
point.
this part. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I think we've gotten through pretty much the basics of this, which went faster than I thought it might, which is great. But the last thing I wanted to do is just, well, one is this is a public informational meeting. So that'll be open to any members of the public as well to ask questions. And also,
it's a public hearing.
yeah, yeah. And I just want to make sure everybody remember in their packet of minutes from January 21st, 2020 are the conditions that we had for master plan approval. So I won't read them to you, but it's page 3 and 4 of 11. So before we review the preliminary plan, we just have to make sure that all of these conditions have been met. And they're through most of them now. We just have to finish that up. We just have to keep that in mind as we finish the process. So if there's nothing else specific to the land use, then I think we will go ahead and go on with the design architectural review. And so whoever wants to come and present that, it's your turn.
Okay, good evening. Hi, this is Joseph McPhee. I'm the architect for the proposed project.
Okay.
The Advantage Self-Storage facility is one of a number of facilities that this group has designed and constructed mostly along the East Coast, but also in the Midwest, Colorado, I think Chicago as well, area. So the proposed 3.5 story self-storage structure is to be located on a prominent site in the Tiverton Industrial Park. As you know, its elevation and its proximity to the highway, the Route 24, both north direction and south direction, both kind of face, point at this this particular site. And the structure is designed in such a way to kind of work with the natural features of the site. There is, you know, considerable grade change on the site. And there's this, you know, we, you know, discussed at length at the site plan review portion that this kind of rocky knoll ledge outcropping on the north side of the building is a, you know, it's a dominant feature of the site. There's also, you know, when we did extensive boring, as Molly mentioned, there is ledge on the site at various elevations. And what we tried to do is fit the building in such a way that we could avoid as much as possible, you know, encountering the ledge. The building is essentially a 3-story building. The half story is on the lower level, and there's a retaining wall about 1/3 of the way back from the east wall, approximately where the ledge is going to start causing issues with the excavation. So the other reason why it's considered a 3-story structure is that this lower level is isolated from the upper stories. It's a fire separation. The slab on grade extends out over the framing between the lower level and the main floor. That structure is going to be rated assembly, so that essentially what happens is that on top of that deck that's separated, we're building a 3-story structure. This arrangement allows for the building to be constructed with light gauge framing and not have to be fireproofed. Structure doesn't have to be fireproofed with, as a 4-story steel frame structure would have to have spray fireproofing. And so this light gauge building is much lighter on the site, much more economical to build, but still there's an economical use of the material, but it's still can provide a sturdy and rigid structure. The structure is essentially built, constructed out of this light gauge framing with metal deck and concrete slabs, and the perimeter envelope is structural insulated panels. So they're metal panels with foam on the interior. They're very rigid. They're fastened to the frame and to the deck. They give a good R value, and they're very durable, long-lasting material. We'll be using high performance coatings on the Kynar coatings on the panels. There's a variation of the panels. There's some horizontal panels on the lower portions and vertical panels on the upper. I can show you share screen now. Sorry, should have done this a little earlier. A second on that. Excuse me, one second. So this is the architectural set that we submitted. Turn this off. Okay, sorry about that. So this is the exterior of the building. So yeah, on the lower level, on the north side, there's some kind of grayish, taupe colored panels. Those are horizontal, and they are vertical panels, and the tan is more vertical. On the northeast corner and on the northwest corner, there are 2 towers. These towers, may occasionally be visible from the highway. They have some display windows on them that show storage unit display. There's kind of a display of the storage unit doors. This arrangement of the towers and display windows is kind of part of the prototype being developed for this company. There's another building in Port Jefferson that has very similar kind of towers with these display windows. So the main upper level has faces Progress Road. That's the main entrance to the building. There's a canopy covering for the entry at that location, and the office area is adjacent to that. There's a little kind of accent tower with a veneer brick. Also at grade, there are overhead doors that open directly into storage. They're untempered storage units at the upper level. There are also at the lower level a series of overhead doors that are also untempered, and a second entrance at the lower level that mimics the one on the upper level, very similar. There's the overhead doors have kind of a jam header detail panning that's used. That's a little more durable than the insulated panels, and they're bollards that are protecting the overhead door openings as well. See the bollards there. The double skin insulated panels is a one method to of the kind of the efficiency of the building, but there's also the roof is insulated well. Hopefully it's going to be above code. It's a single pitch shed of the roof. It's got a parapet on the south side and parapets on the north side around the towers, but also at the field of the roof. The water pitches to the west, where it will be collected on interior or roof drains. There'll be kind of pairs of roof drains together, and a short parapet on the west side, but the water will be collected on the interior, and then through multiple drops will come to the galleys under the paving area for the rainwater. The towers are raised a bit from the balance of the roof, but I'll talk a little bit about the concept of the building with the site. Essentially, this is the highway. We have buffers between the highway, a vegetative buffer between the highway and industrial road that you can see here in this photograph here. I'll show you some other photographs of the tree buffers as well. But then there's a secondary buffer with this, very wide right of way on Progress Road and Industrial Road that is heavily wooded, and there's considerable amount of really large boulders on this hill coming up. Like Molly mentioned, it's probably 18, almost 20 feet between the roadway and the top of the hill here. So, and then the floor slab is dropped another 10 feet from the top of that hill. So it really minimizes the size of the building, this buffer, natural vegetation buffer, but also the ledge, stony knoll that's a woodland. We are, located on a very prominent site, but so heavily wooded, there's a chance that no one will ever see the building, or very rarely see the building in certain seasons. So there's an interest by the owner to potentially do some selective clearing of this right of way. Keep the large trees, but remove some of the small, dead and dying trees and the underbrush to reveal the stone, the stone feature there, and allow some visual access to the building. It's still going to be heavily screened, by both the state right away and then this existing trees. So that's kind of the concept for that. I do have some other photographs of the on the side. I'll show you that. Second, these are a couple of renderings that show kind of, winter selective clearing. It's going to be a lot more trees than that. Probably, kind of heavily heavily wooded. I want to share another image here in a second. Yeah. So here are some images of the site this is from Route 24 South. So you can see there's, very heavy wooded area on this buffer between the state right of way and Industrial Drive and then beyond. Sorry. This is the view, another view from 24 looking at the site. So here's just a couple of other structures that are in the, in the kind of immediate area of the building. This is the DPW building, which is the closest building to the site. This is the Longplex structure. This has had extensive, clear cutting of the buffer between the highway and the right of way and industrial road. But it's a very large building. It's set back off the road, probably further than the building that we're proposing. This is a much larger building, probably 3 times the size. This is the power plant just up the street from Industrial Road. This is just a commercial building down the street, and these are some buildings. I think it's called Glen or something like that. Some other industrial buildings that are on the other side of the highway. So back to So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about that. This is plan showing the signage plan for the building. There are 2 main project signs: Advantage self-storage, like this, thus, as they say. They're 2'6" squares, the logo, and then this is 18 foot long for the channel letters. They're about just a foot high. This is a detail of the channel letter off the brick wall. These are the colors, and here's a kind of a spec for the sign. They're 5 inches deep. They're 1 foot high. They're backlit as well. So they're going to be located on the north east face of the northeast tower, we'll say, facing north. This sign A, and then the other one is going to be facing west on the northwest tower. So these are identical signs, and they are both 25 square feet. I had some discussions with Joe about the zoning ordinance and signage, and that is what is allowed for wall-mounted signs. There is no monument sign proposed for the project. There are some other minor signs that are going to be proposed, just informational signs, identifying the main loading area at the upper level and at the lower level. And then this sign D is at the corner. There's secondary entrance drive this way. It just to identify that there's lower loading entry is this way. This also diagram kind of also shows the roof. We have, you know, alternate to provide PV solar panels on the roof. So these are just the window types and door types. The entry doors are 3-panel sliding doors. These are windows that are all fixed. All the windows are fixed. There's overhead doors. The all the man doors, entry doors are 7 feet tall. The overhead doors on the at grade are also 7 feet high by 8 foot wide. Here's a view of the roof, a little more detail on the roof plan. This is the canopy, is 14 feet by 22.6 wide. The roof pitches all to the west, as I discussed. There's walking paths around the perimeter. The mechanical equipment will be set 10 feet back off the edge of the roof, so there will be no guardrails necessary to protect from falling. It's a TPO roof proposed, which is a white PVC. It's a reflective roof. These are elevations, which show the west elevation, which is the main entry. You can see the office, the sales or leasing office has tall unit windows. And these are the entries. There are also, you can see the vertical panels here and the horizontal panels. There's also a kind of a blue accent panel. It's a pan, formed pan, kind of a deep relief corrugation, but it's only about 12 or 14 inches tall, but it wraps around the building right above these overhead doors. It provides an accent there. There are also accent panels that are also corrugated metal on the building. They're squares, are also 7 feet by 8 feet, the same size as the at-grade loading doors. There's a little more detail on the signage location. There's a elevation there. Canopies have developed actually since a couple of months since we made this presentation. Actually, I can show you what those look like, but there's actually a brick pier being proposed instead of a structural bent. This is a kind of a familiar structural member of a pre-engineered metal building, but we've moved to masonry piers, 3 masonry piers, 1, 2, 3. Here's some spec information about the double skin insulated panels and the windows and the doors. So this is the east elevation, which is the 3.5-story building side. It's, you know, in some ways intentional to make it not really clear that it's a 3-story building. From the roadway, it would be, you know, it's hard to, from the roadway, you won't really be able to see the lower level directly. So these windows at the upper level just might look like it's a 2-story building instead of a 4-story building. There is an entrance on this side where there's going to be an electric room. And I think the fire protection room is also going to be there. The FDC is going to be on this corner. That is about it. So there's going to be a mix of storage units that would meet the market demand. Exterior non temperature controlled spaces and temperature controlled spaces on the interior. There's going to be 2 elevators in the building. and loading lobbies at each side of, um, and it's fairly straightforward in the interior. The plans vary. They're not identical stacked layout for the storage.
And
That's
what
all I
about
have.
Lighting.
Oh, exterior lighting, correct. Thank you. So I talked a little bit about the signage, signage design intent. This is their logo and they've used this sign a number of times. Exterior, so that's part of the lighting is this sign. These windows will be lit. I have a spec for the lighting. So there's lighting for those corridors will be lit with LED strip lights that will kind of illuminate the doors. The doors are going to be a darker blue color at this display, so it's not going to be blaringly white. The sidewall panels of the doors are white.
These are the loading bay doors that you're describing?
So loading bay doors are not going to be directly lit. There's not going to be that first fixture I showed you is at these display windows. The display windows on the towers.
So do they project off the building?
Nope, they are interior and they light inside. They light towards the interior doors. Let's see. I can describe it better. Okay, so this is a display window. See, there behind those windows are overhead doors, unit doors. They're going to be, I think, 3 feet wide. So you'll see probably like 2 in this opening and 2 in this opening. And those are going to be blue. But on the interior, there will be fluorescent lighting, or it's LED lighting, that will light up that wall where the interior overhead doors are. And that's kind of symbiotic signage. It's not real signage, but it helps people to understand what type of building it is.
So these are not actual displays. They're actually transparent windows.
These are transparent windows.
That you're seeing into the interior that's being illuminated by those LED lights. And the setback from the wall of the door to the window, the distance between those?
About 4 feet.
Okay. Now that makes sense to me. Thank you.
There's a gap back there. And, some storage areas have these displays. I'm sure you've seen them before, but they're fake.
Right.
They're not actual. So these.
And none of those are spec. None of those are spec for a graphic display. These are all actual transparent windows looking into the interior. Where
there are actual doors.
Okay. Yes. When you said display, that threw me. That's why. I'm glad you clarified.
It displays the interior on the exterior. But normally, buildings aren't illuminated to show off what's going on the inside. Mm-hmm. That is the case here.
What about the exterior lighting? You're going to have dark sky.
Yes. So the exterior lighting is here. So I have so here's the exterior lighting plan. There are kind of really high efficiency LED lighting fixtures that are going to be mounted on the building that will illuminate the parking and paving areas. So those are these A fixtures here. And on the south side, then at the entry drive, there are these pole lights. They're labeled as B. There's also, I'm sorry to say, there's one right over here. It's not, I didn't highlight it, but that's a B fixture. They're also at the curb cut. It's on the property. And then
all 8 of them will be dark sky.
Yes, they'll have cutoffs. Yes, they'll be dark sky fixtures. They are here.
And do you have anything that illustrates the actual projection beam of the light? Like what is the width at the bottom of the pool versus the top of where it's projected?
So the supplier, the material supplier, the lighting reps, the lighting manufacturers provided the photometric plan, and that basically shows what the lighting levels are at different locations. I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit if you'd like to see a little more. So this gives the lighting levels, where it drops off. So this is like two 2-foot candles, and it drops off to 1.7, and then 1 at the roadway, and then a half, but a half of a foot candle at the edge of the road. So that meets the minimum requirements for the throw, but no more. It's not too way out in the woods.
Mhm.
It's very limited. And then the pole lights are also kind of, they're directional. It's a single throw fixture throwing, light out into the right of way a little bit, and where this is going to be a gate over here.
So the main sign is backlit, so it's not really dark sky compliant if it's backlit.
It's channel letters, so the lights are within the channel, and the face of the channel. Usually, there's an edge that projects past a lens by an inch or so, but there's a lens, and the light fixture is behind that. And
so it's like a light.
It also lights the wall.
Oh.
So some light comes through the fixture. It's an white acrylic lens, but some light spills behind the fixture, I believe, and lights the wall. So it does not shine up at all. There are some fixtures. Sorry.
Do you have any photographs of an existing
installation
logo that is, an existing installation, just showing how much refraction of that light back against the building there is from the logo and sign?
I believe I do. I don't think at night. I do not.
Okay.
I have
if
some.
it's possible to get something that would be great to have.
Yeah, I do have some. I do have some images like this, but let's see.
Because you're open 24 hours, so it's not like the light would be off at any
No,
time.
the lights are not going off. No.
No.
But it is way back from the road. It's way back from the highway. It's buffered extremely well, and it doesn't shine up. These fixtures, under the canopy, I do intend to have an up-down fixture, but they will shine up at the canopy, at the roof of the canopy, and then bounce back down. So it's down lighting, but then up onto a canopy.
And those are located only under the canopies, not any other part of the building.
Yes, correct. So something like this up-down sort of fixture. So I think that covers it with the lighting.
The lobby lighting, can you explain that? The main front lobby lighting, is that also a similar kind of LED fixture with the office and the entrance, or is that a different lighting fixture?
There's just an up-down light, just up-down lights near the entries, probably on each of the 3 piers. It would be up-down lighting. The office windows don't have any lighting on the exterior. There'd be recessed troughers.
And on the interior of the office?
Interior on the reflected on the ceiling tile, and recessed in the ceiling tile.
And do those remain illuminated 24 hours too?
No, I don't think so. The office hours are limited.
The officers are limited. Okay.
Most of the interior lighting is by motion sensor anyway. Except for a night.
Yes.
Okay.
And it may be that the we'll have to discuss it, but it may be the display windows may be on a time clock as well, but probably later hours. Later than the office hours.
Sue, we're going to talk about landscape design later and just
Well,
cover.
I don't know, Molly, I
building
don't know if
for
you
now.
wanted to do the initial presentation, and then after we have our questions, maybe the landscaper architect can be here the next time, if we have enough questions. If Molly, if you want to go over that.
Well, if we have other design questions, do we want to answer those now in the building? Ask those rather now, or?
Well, let her get through if she wants to do the overall landscape, that way we can kind of do the whole picture.
Okay.
With Molly there.
Through it previously, relative plantings, and is there something specific? I know there's a lot of questions. I don't know what I can offer beyond what's really on the plans in terms of, I mean, we have species, we have spacing, like I acknowledged, we can add some plantings along industrial where the grading work is within 15 feet of the property line.
Okay. We could do then is just start going through like the building design and landscaping and any other questions anybody has, and then that way we'll get all the questions, I guess, for next time. So I guess we can just kind of open it up to everybody on the board. If you have questions, you want to talk about the building design, if you have questions about any more of the signage or lighting and then landscaping. So I'll open it up to members of the board for questions, comments.
I have a couple of design related questions.
Okay.
You answered about the windows, so that was very, very helpful. The colors that you're showing on the brick veneer, is that an actual color or is that not represented on the plan properly? It looks very pink to my eye.
That's well, printing doesn't always, accurately respond to the, I could show, or I could send a brochure from which I think I submitted the specific name and the company that I'm proposing, and I could get a better but it's probably not a very good representation color-wise.
Yeah.
So I could have a brochure sent from the company directly to.
If you have any swatches, or is it based on a Pantone color or?
No, it's a blend. It's a brick blend.
Okay.
So
It would be helpful to just see that because it's very different in each of the pictures, and so to have a real sense of what that color looks like.
Sure.
Right. So you're saying it's more of a brick color than a pink?
It's brick. Yes, it's a very traditional kind of New England.
More red brown than.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a blend. I can show you.
Okay, would be great to see that.
Words fail, and so do prints oftentimes.
And likewise, I think we sort of mentioned it, but if you do have actual nighttime or dusk photographs of the logo signage, so we can actually see. I understand light boxes very well and projector instruments within lucite framed signage, but I just would like to see the throw of what spills from that. If you can have something that represents that, that would be great. On the roof elevation and the parapets, are there any mechanicals handling, air handlers, AC, anything?
Yes. So on the plan I showed, share my screen again, maybe, I don't know. I showed on the not supposed to see floor plans. That's all right. All right. So here's the roof plan, and I show these little units here. I'm proposing to use heat pumps, small little units. They're heat pumps, and there'd be an interior air handler. But these are all set back off the roof considerably, at least 10 feet.
So is there an illustration with an elevation of the roof so you could see, does it, so you're saying it's masked by both its setback and the parapets they're not visible, those mechanicals from the road?
Well, this image is not actually that accurate. Oops, sorry.
So I see those little.
You see these on here. So essentially, I set them when I built the model. That this line is actually this dotted line is actually the slope of the roof. These are all level. They won't be level. They'll be sitting on the roof. So, the parapets are probably 6 or 8 inches high, but they're 10 feet back. And the building is, 25 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to see them except for like a half a mile away.
Okay.
I mean, they're not 8 feet high. They're 2 feet high.
So this rendering is not accurate in terms of what you would actually see sightline wise.
Yes, this is a repetition. I don't know the exact size of these heat pump units at this stage of design, but they are small units. They are 24, maybe 30 inches tall max, and they're set back 10 feet off the road. I mean, off the edge, and they will be behind the parapet wall generally.
As well, it's not necessarily a sightline rendering.
And yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to check. And would there be something that gives us a better indication in further design of a sightline rendering, just to so what we would actually
24 inches above 24 inches above the parapet. That's what you're going to get, but it's going to be back 10 feet from a minimum of 10 feet from the edge.
Mm-hmm.
So from the roadway, which is,
the most
18, is it? It's 10. Was it 8 feet at least below the slab? And this, this building is 30 feet high.
Okay.
So it's important when you're going on Route 24 to know what it's going to look like, because that is what you imagine Tiverton, I mean, you think of the coast and the beauty, but you want it to look attractive when you go by there. That's why we want to know what it looks like.
Yep.
From the road in particular.
So Joe, we could provide a sort of a sight line rendering from 24 maybe?
I'm sorry. This is what you're going to see from Route 24. You're hardly going to see the building at all. Never mind the AC units. I'm not trying to.
Have you seen Longplex though?
Longplex is at least 3 times as big a building, and they've clear cut and it's flat.
Yes, you are correct, Mr. McPhee, and thank you for putting that rendering or that photo there, because it was supposed to look all vegetated in front. And then Mr. Rogers' predecessor let somebody go down there and clear it. It was supposed to be like what you are showing. There's no guarantee that it's going to not look like this, unless the planning board can put something on their plans.
Only the grading. So the grading at our site is dramatic. There's a natural feature that sticks up above the road, probably 25 feet. That's the top of the ledge.
Your line of sight is not flat into our building as it is here.
Right.
Right. I think because even your own rendering, Joe, with the winterscape, when the trees don't have their leaves, and you did say that there was going to be some selective thinning of this spot. So that, I think that's the, the concern, is just to make sure that that sight line, as Jennifer was just suggesting, especially in the months without leaves on the trees, that we have a really clear understanding of what that's going to look like sightline wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is your basic concern just the mechanicals?
I'd say that's one of the contributing factors. Yeah, I think there's also just the landscaping plan itself, and then just wanting to make sure the lighting is part of that, and is the coloration of the final materials as well. I think all those things contribute in my mind. So I think the more clear we can be about those, accurate color cues, as best representation of we can of the lighting, a sight line view of what the mechanicals on the roof line are going to look like, and a clearer indication when we get to the final landscape plan of, what we're actually thinning, what's being planted in its place. While I'm on the landscape part, I would say what the heights of the proposed new specimens are going to be. And I don't know if we have, Molly mentioned specimens. I don't know if we have a whole list of all the plant materials and specimens, but that would be great to have in terms of the landscape plan when we get there as well.
Yeah, there are.
Well, with respect to the trees that are planted, they're not a particular height that's called out for in the planning or the zoning ordinance. What they do require is a 2-inch caliper for the street trees that are planted. But so there are a certain number of street trees that may be required, but the balance of the landscape buffer would be more of the shrubbery.
Right.
So calibrating really how many trees are there, what the caliper, the trees that are on the knoll area, how big they are, how tall they are, what the caliper is, how much view you're really going to see through that. It's very difficult to portray that to you in any meaningful way that's honest. I mean, I can make an artist rendering of what how I feel it might look. This view is from Industrial Drive.
Right.
From the other side of the other buffer, you really not going to see or very, minimal view. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, that's my question.
Elevation of the
back side of the building. How long is the building? What's the length of the building?
300 feet long. 280 feet long, or 250 feet long. That's at the longest.
Right. I think because I think the part that faces Industrial and Progress Road, you have points. There's areas of interest and focal points, but the whole back side of the building, there's just going to be one long building. I don't know if there's a way somehow you could create, because I think when you're coming from 24 north, driving south, it will be visible. It will be visible, and it's another big long building with not much going on. I mean, I can live with the other side because it faces kind of into nothing, but the back side is a little.
So this faces
that side.
This side, no one will ever see. I mean, this side is from the wetland. Like maybe there's parcels going to be developed on the other side of the wetland, possibly in the future.
There's no parcel.
No, I think once all that's cleared, you have a parking, you have the road, and you have all the stormwater until you get to the wetlands. That's going to be bare all through the winter, and that's what you're going to see when you're coming down from 24.
The site plan so you can see the positioning of the building to 24, please. I don't believe as you're coming southbound, the way the building is positioned, that you're actually going to really see that side.
Um,
I think the building is kind of turned and squared on our site, not necessarily to the highway. So as you're coming down, you're going to be looking at more of the front corner than just the whole side of that building. I don't think it's.
Looks more perpendicular to me. I mean, I guess my thing is I understand where you want, how you're going about building this, but when we live in the town and everybody passing through the town, we're the ones that are going to be looking at it for a long time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, it's not going to be the Taj Mahal, but I just was wondering if that backside, if there's anything. I don't know, Christine, if you have any architectural comments you can help us with, yeah, to soften it, to create any kind of, I don't know. It just, it's, you know, it's not something I can direct what you should put there. It's just comment.
So the south side of the building is probably the plainest side of the building. It is the only side that I could really put windows into. There's something like maybe 9 windows or something like that I have over there. I mean, it's possible I could put the blue accents on that side as well.
That's not the south
Well,
elevation, it's the east, it's the
potentially
east
add some
elevation.
accent
I'm
panels there.
looking at the east elevation, not the south. The eastern elevation is what I'm looking at. Sorry.
So as far as the view, again, this direction of the travel from the south, I mean, from the north to the south,
Right.
again, you're on the other side of the highway, but you're running kind of parallel with the buffer. So there's an extensive buffer that's not being removed all along Industrial Drive, because that wetland goes right up to the edge of Industrial Drive, and there's no developable site just to the east. So all the buffer that's there is going to continue to provide some visual buffer to this long length of the building. So, I mean, we have this tower that projects out slightly from the other face of the building. And then there's this other visual axis here as well, visual accent at the entry, the loading area. I mean, that breaks up this overall elevation. This horizontal band here at the canopy, and then there's another horizontal band here. So we have, you know, accent door color. We have a, you know, taupe base, you know, panel, lintel, and header. Then the vertical panels and these accent panels. It is a big building, but there are a few things going on. It's not just a plain vanilla box, which would definitely be objectionable. The south elevation is more concerning to me because, you know, the road runs parallel to the building. You know, maybe put some of these accent panels on here.
Can you bring that up on your screen, Joseph, this south elevation?
What's that?
Can you bring that up on your screen?
Am I not sharing that?
No, you're showing the concept landscape plan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had that up, but I was sharing it. Just forget to do that. So this is that east elevation where, I'm sorry, again, there's a tower. Then there's an accent tower, which breaks up the long, you know, length of the building, 250 feet. Um, this tower actually just projects out, so it's not a big box from that corner. It steps back. The base has these accent doors and headers and panels, which are kind of a special thing.
I don't think Joe is going to be seen below that accent stripe down, really, from the highway. That's all well below grade in line of sight.
Well, from the north, it may not be, because there's the wetland is lower as it rises up towards this corner. But there is a really good buffer. There's two buffers that are parallel to you. So they're going to be blocking the view as you approach from the north. But then you have, this form is broken up by these different towers. And you have, color accents and different materials and different textures. The bases are more of a textured, higher texture than these vertical panels, and the brick is a different texture. The roof line pops up. It's a big building. There's no getting away from that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not gonna hide that from you.
I think that, it's just, to Susan's point, the massing of that side in particular, and because there's actually not a lot of relief between the height difference of the towers that you're referring to and the main roof line. I mean, what is that actually? How many?
Well, so this is the high point of the roof. So the roof pitches to the west, so that so you can see this is the eave height right here.
Yeah.
On the other side, and so the wall panels go up a little bit higher, and there's a pretty heavy cornice, a double thick cornice there. The tower on this side is 8 feet higher than the eave height. I think that's significant. It's almost a whole
8 feet is from the top of the window line, though, not the top of the roof line.
That's the eave height, top of eave. So the roof is 8, or say the roof is 12 inches higher than the top of steel, right? Yeah, on the other side, it's the same height. You know what I mean? You can't make the tower. Making the towers a different height doesn't really make sense.
Could you go back to the front side for a second? I had a question about the parking.
The parking?
Well, I was looking at it the way you had it drawn. I don't know if the doors to the left of the entrance area, are those doors you can just back into, or I'm just trying to figure out, because there's 3 parking spaces, including the handicap space.
Those
on
parking
the site plan are right in front of those doors. So I
Yes.
didn't know how accessible those doors are going to be.
Yes.
Or you were planning on those to be.
Those spaces will need to move down probably 8 or 9 feet towards Progress Road to allow that.
So you're saying the spaces would move down so that they wouldn't be right in front of the parking area?
Correct. They're not going to be right in front of the door.
Not in front of the door, but the
Needs
parking
to be-
area. I mean, you have basically, and on the site plan, where these 4 blue doors are the 3 parking spaces, including the ADA parking. So I didn't know what the clearance was there, or if these were kind of doors that you were going to be anticipating people were going to be backing into to unload, because that would impact those parking spaces.
So yeah, I respect the observations. Excellent observation. Those there does need to be like an 8 or 9 foot drive area, in a loading area in front of those doors. So those spaces may have to move, like 1 additional space closer to Progress Road. Nice catch.
Oh, thanks. So Molly, you understand what I'm saying compared to what you see on the site plan? for parking spaces. I just wasn't sure if there was enough clearance then for those doors and what was anticipated. If people were planning to carry things to put in them, or if somebody was expecting to be able to back up with a U-Haul. You know, just I want to make sure that that works for you guys.
Those may be designed as walk-up units. I would have to reference the inside to see the actual size of them. But it's not uncommon for us to design walk-up units in areas that have accessibility.
Yeah, I just want to make sure there's enough room for them to get by with whatever it is they're carrying. So I don't know, I guess if you guys, between the architect and the engineer, look at that just to figure out if that is going to work for you or if that somehow creates some kind of blocking.
I have observed that as well, Susan, and I understand that it seems that there's enough space to move those spaces, one 9-foot space closer towards progress and not create any kind of difficulty with grading or anything like that.
Okay. All right. However, you think you need to work it. It's just. Oh, so I wanted to talk about some of the landscaping. My questions, if you can go back to one of those plans.
Landscaping?
Yeah.
So I'm not sharing right now.
All right.
Excellent. So my questions are, I understand what you're doing is you're picking low maintenance plants to minimize that, what has to be kept up with. There's not a lot of interest, but around the trees, around the shrubbery and all that, is that going to be grass or what is it you plan to put as ground cover under the trees and shrubs?
There would be, limited mulching at the base.
Right.
And then grass area around it.
So that is all going to be, so around the 3 trees on the east, that'll be grass, and across all the front between Progress Road and the parking area, that in between all that, that'll be grass?
Yeah, well, other than the required mulching around the base.
Right. And around the propane tank area, is that grassed in?
There'd be probably a bed and then grass.
Okay, and then the other question was to the west of the building, where it jogs in and out. Between that and where you start having the grading drop, what is that in there?
So like here?
Yes.
Grass.
Oh, you're gonna do grass, okay. I mean, initially I thought that was very plain, it needed some shrubbery, but looking then at the relief, it looks like it's all gonna be covered or hidden by the stone. So then my other question
Here
is
is just to carry water away from the building, from this existing ledge here. And then in this area where the building steps down in the rear, there's grading slopes as well.
But it'll be grass cover. And then my other question is, because it seems to be conflicting. So in the front where the propane tanks are and to the left of the first driveway, on the site plan, you have those are going to be your snow removal areas where you have grass and landscaping. And I don't see how you're going to make that work. Plus, given the size of all your roadway, I don't know how you're going to fit all that snow into those 2 little spots. It just doesn't seem like it's the best location for your snow. I don't know if Joe, if you have any comments or you have any other ideas, but I just don't, to me, that doesn't look like that's going to work. Especially if you're moving the snow from the back all the way to the front and you're dumping it off on the street, basically. You're putting it on the frontage to the street where you have trees growing. So, I don't know where else you might go with it, but I think if you could come up with another plan for that. And my other question was with, again, to the left of the building. So you have that, what is it, that 10-foot drop, that grade of the rocks, and then it's all rock ledge. I don't know how you calculate for all the stormwater runoff from that. Where it's going to go.
Well, into this swale and into our drainage system.
So from
it's collected.
Full dotted line, that slopes back towards the building?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And then from the other side of the dotted line going west, that goes down towards Industrial Way?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why my question is then, if you start doing selective clearing and you've got rock ledge there draining off the property and decreased stuff to catch it, Rick, I don't know what you might be considering as far as something to catch that before it hits Industrial Way.
Well, if it's rock face now, then it will be rock face in the future. On that face, we're not proposing really, we're not proposing grading in this area. So what's exposed will remain exposed.
But if you start doing clearing in the right of way, you are going to alter doesn't that affect the stormwater runoff? If you have less stuff there, I think when you talk about clearing out underbrush and dead trees and all that, I mean, I just don't know if then, because that was another fairly significant grade down to Industrial Way. If that's going to impact stormwater.
Possibly, but it would be negligible. Susan, I think when you run the calculations, I'm assuming you use HydroCAD, Molly?
Yeah.
So what you do is you assign that area or that type of cover a curve number based on wooded woodland or wooded area. If you did selective clearing, you would still call it the same wooded area. So it wouldn't have a change in runoff number. So whereas if you change it to a wooded area might have a curve number somewhere around, I don't know, 35, and pavement would have 98. So there would be an increase in runoff based on those curve numbers. In this case, there would be no change in curve number. Even if you were to say slightly cleared, it might change it by 1, which would not change the calculation. So yeah, I would say there is no increase in runoff. Selective clearing is not really considered altering, in my opinion.
And what kind of percentage of clearing is selective clearing?
I was just going to ask.
If you start talking about selective clearing, what if like 50% of what's in there is dead trees you're losing or dying or whatever you determine it's going to be?
Right.
Who's going to make that? Who's going to make that determination? How much you're allowed to clear and what you're allowed to clear before it impacts either the sight line or the stormwater runoff?
Right. So I believe that just as far as the concept goes, that right of way belongs to the town.
Correct.
Right. So we would respectfully request an opportunity to do some selective clearing, but that would only be to your or maybe the Public Works, who is the one who manages that right of way, to their satisfaction. I'm sure there'd be some discussions about it, but dead is dead, and removing a dead tree is not, it's not unsightly. It's healthy for the area, and taking things that are under 2 inches in diameter out would allow the larger trees to continue to get larger.
And did you say you're clearing underbrush as well?
Anything under 2 inches, that's
Oh,
underbrush.
you're saying undersized, but not ground cover.
Yeah. Well, the ground cover is going to continue to grow and be ground cover. We're not going to like kill, but just to clean it, to make it look attractive, and to allow some visual access. It's really the entrance to the whole park. I mean, it's an important corner, and you've set aside that land as something special, and the idea is just to kind of start working in that direction to make it more attractive.
Rick, are you still there? Are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
thank
calling
you,
you
Sue.
again. So we need to get your sense of what you think is acceptable as far as clearing. And my question is still, I don't know if this is something that should be brought to the council's attention, just out of courtesy, or if they should have any voice in this, based on a recommendation from you. So there's no surprise.
Yeah, I do not know, Sue, if it has to go before the town council or not, but what DPW would do is keep an eye when they're doing the curb cut. And if they're going to do more clearing than what is shown on the plan, we would talk to Joe and also review it ourselves to see if the stormwater mitigation is still adequate. But we don't expect a problem offhand, and especially not with selective clearing. But if they apply to do more clearing, or they are doing more clearing, then we would talk to Jennifer and Joe.
So, Rick, is there a provision? Because this word is very elusive to me, selective clearing. Are we talking 10% or are we talking 70%? And without knowing, is there a guideline that is followed or submitted for approval? How do we know when we've reached the benchmark and not to exceed removal of a certain percentage? Not only for the water runoff, as Susan is saying, but then to the point of the visual corridor, because this is the most important thing. And I would just also say, and I understand your point, Joe, about clearing it to make it look better, but then there's no plan to add anything. And I'm just wondering about, again, if there were, in the same way we're thinking about selective thinning or clearing, would there be some selective installation of new materials that would help the visual corridor? And so these are all it just seems very vague and nebulous right now, rather than having something to really understand more concretely about what we're talking about.
Right. Longplex did selective clearing, but that was their definition. So I want to avoid something like that. And if right now it doesn't say anything on the plan. So, we talk about selective clearing, which is totally, like you say, undefined. And there's nothing on the plan to indicate any of this.
So it's not on a plan because it's not our property. It would be something that we would request of the town. It's not a demand because we respect your property rights, but something that we could hopefully discuss, not as a restriction to approval, like we want it and we want it, or you say no, or you say we want you to say yes before you approve.
Joe, if I could just interject for a moment. This is a concept that we are discussing and would like to implement, but it's only a concept at this point relative to this selective clearing. Now, I don't think the planning board really has authority relative to allowing or disallowing that selective clearing. I think by ordinance, it is really in the purview of the tree warden and the tree commission. that they would have the authority relative to cutting down, clearing any trees that are deemed to be public trees, which are trees, on public property. So any selective clearing would have to go through an appropriate approval process. We wanted to be fair and open with the board and indicate that that is something that we would like to be doing, but it's really just a concept at this point, and is obviously subject to the necessary permitting. You can't go and do that clearing without obtaining a permit from the tree warden.
Absolutely.
Right, but then it's beyond everybody's else's purview. Just one other comment. If you're taking rights to that, I would suggest you do a little bit of landscaping around the entrance area for that back entrance where you're accessing Industrial Way. I would think that would need a little bit of landscaping. If you're clearing and building a road, if that's an entrance exit site, it should have at least some kind of landscaping. I don't know whether...
Yeah, we could certainly add that to the plans, and that's a great point. It should be done to make it attractive. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if the planning board can request or direct Rick to take this to the council to just, I don't know. See, I think I'm just on the fence about this, that because this is such a visible place, the council has a real stake in this plan, the whole park. It's not really under our control. I would just like to make them aware of what the plan is for this portion, if it's in the public right of way, so they're aware of that and what your plan is to do with it. I think that would be reasonable, and that would be my recommendation. I don't want to just say, give you the go ahead, or say, Rick, go ahead, without any kind of guidance or discussion, because it is town property and it's a very visible point in the town.
Yes. This is Rick Stu. Thank you. And if we were asked to do selective clearing or clearing on the right of way in this area, we would bring that to Jennifer's attention. And if it had to be reviewed for stormwater, et cetera, as mentioned, I would also talk to Joe Cardello. But I would then, after talking to Jennifer, I would leave it up to her to contact the town council as she and the planning board chairperson saw fit.
So.
Yes. Well, I'm just thinking, because this is basically part of the preliminary plan, I would like to see this get resolved, not like after all this is said and done and you start building and then this just happens. I would like to see this get settled at the preliminary plan stage so that there is this transparency, that the planning board's aware of what's going on, council's aware of what's going on, the applicant knows what the expectations are, and everybody's just not shooting from the hip and hoping for the best. I think is really part of the planning process. However, the mechanism is that it goes forward to work with the applicant, but also to keep the town informed. I think is the best option.
It would be, this is Rick again, so it would be pretty hard to come up with a amount of selective clearing that people would visualize at this point, because selective clearing can be mature trees, it can be shrubs, it can be brush, it can be briars. So if there's I'm certainly not against the applicant and the planning board discussing concepts, but to actually come up with details would be very difficult without actually being in the field and looking at everything.
Right.
Would you be able to walk that, whatever that is, that 40-foot strip or whatever, and take an approximation of what you think percentage-wise of clearing would be? I know you can't really get in there, but I mean,
Yeah,
I
or maybe, yeah,
seem like,
maybe-
I mean, I just feel like I just don't want to leave this hanging or, we've
So
been burned
it-
once.
it's a tricky thing for, the planning board to direct or I don't know, maybe developing a proposal of what, you know, what the property or the developer is interested in, and in writing, and maybe the landscape architect is involved in kind of identifying that as a proposal, and then that could get reviewed by Rick and the tree warden, and then it's not necessarily even part of the development or the planning approval, because it's not really even on the plan. It's not part of our property.
But you are proposing clearing it. I mean, doing
Not
some
clearing,
clearing, selective clearing.
cleaning it. Yes, like taking,
So-
dying stuff out, and maybe it includes adding something back in, like mountain laurel or something that's attractive to look at in that.
When we were the town council, they discussed actually clearing that so that that was open for signage for the actual park. So, and possibly going back in and doing some plantings, but I don't know with the topography and the ledge that's actually present there, that anything other than raised beds for planting would actually work. But I think overall, from the town council's point of view, that they would like that opened up and dressed up and landscaped to a certain extent, and the Tiverton Business Park sign placed there with maybe sign monikers for the various businesses that are located.
Well, I would say I've learned not to speak for the council, so I think that's pretty dicey. But what actually your suggestion to have your landscape architect come out, I would put that on you to have your landscape architect come out and he do the survey of what he would propose for a percentage of selective clearing, how that would look, because what it does affect is the view corridor for the planning board.
Yeah.
It's not alone and separate, even if it isn't directly our land to consider. It does impact the view shed corridor to that you're building, which we want to accommodate, but also make it look the best that we can for those of us that will be looking at it every day.
I mean, we can certainly incorporate some criteria as far as what is cleared, as far as brush, maybe a caliper size down, anything that's dead. It may include just limbing up some items to clean them up, so it looks like a better, more alive tree. And
well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like if that gets cleared out and thinned out, and then you're looking at all this rock, and then you're looking at a
Which
big
is nice, which is really actually, that's a natural feature, and that's one of the things that your design guidelines are calling us to do.
Right.
Accentuate the natural feature, and that's it's just an uncared for natural feature.
Right.
I think earlier what Dave was referring to is kind of a cooperative understanding that outlines these criteria that we were just saying, because this is also uncharted ground in a sense, because as this industrial park is being developed and there are properties that bound the right of way, it's a more nebulous zone in terms of what we have jurisdiction over. But as Susan suggesting, the view corridor is an important part. So I think that that's a great step, is a sort of cooperative understanding with some criteria outlined that we can be very proactive so that everybody understands the implications, and we don't get down the road to a certain degree before something comes up as a surprise. And so whether that is, oh, we come to an understanding of a certain percentage, caliper size, what might be put in as well as what might be taken out to enhance all of those natural features, as well as provide the screening that we're looking for. I think that would be a really great way to approach this. And the spirit of that is really cooperative and mutually beneficial.
So just to, just to be clear, the selective clearing and the screening is important, but also some visual access is useful because, I mean, the owner paid a lot of money for the site.
Right.
Prominent site.
Right. We want to be reasonable.
Visual access is important. Some screening is important as well.
Right. We want to allow for something that's reasonable but not strict.
Correct.
Right? So unless you totally landscaped it, but I think part of that access easement was for potentially infrastructure, the right of way. So
Susan, I have a different perspective on this, as you all know.
Go ahead.
I think this is going to be a beautiful building, number one. Secondly, we ought to be excited that we sold another piece of property in the industrial park. Speaking as an ex-counselor, it's very exciting that we sold another piece of property in the industrial park. And I would want to show this property off. Now, I'm not saying to cut it all down and, all you're going to see is rock there, but I think we got to be cooperative, but, between, like someone said, so you could see some of this property. Again, this is representing Tiverton and what we're doing in the industrial park. So if we see a building like this one and we see the Longplex building, people driving up and down 24 might think twice and say, gee, maybe I got to get a piece of property in there. But there are two beautiful buildings in there already. So I think we want to show a little bit of this building and work cooperatively together. And that's just my thought. And I was an ex-counselor, and I would love to see, that building from the highway. Part of it, not all of it, but I'd like to see some of it.
Right. So I've kind of lost track. Who's going to do what? Who's going to do what and send to whom?
We're going to have to together and develop a plan and a criteria to selectively clear it and then submit it down the road. And something that, everybody touched on is mutually beneficial to protect the integrity of the park and to give the owners, some lines of sight to the building and to give others some line of sight to the building. So that, yes, they can see that there is development going on up there and that there's more land, and that may be the go-to area for structures at this point.
Okay. If you can submit something with the overview and the specifics and send it to Jennifer, the planner, the AO, and then we'll have Rick review it. And if you have any more drawings or anything else that you can supply along with it, then we will go from there. And then we can decide if we feel like it needs to go, if Rick should take it to the council, just as informational purposes, not, only, but.
We'll be prepared.
You don't really want to blindside them. And then also add some additional landscaping around that other driveway and figure out where you're going to put your snow.
Right.
Those are the big things that I saw.
And we had talked earlier on, and I don't know how possible it is, but if you have some way to illustrate that sight line that we talked about from the roadway back to the building with the height and the mechanic, I think if we accomplish all of that, just to give us a really clear indication, not only of the view corridor, but then what that roof line is going to look like too. That would be really great.
Right. Yeah, maybe we could get a lot of this wrapped up. So does that sound okay for you guys?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds doable.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Super. Thank you all so much. You guys really, really.
All right. Well, we need to continue the public hearing or the informational public hearing, whatever, to is the next meeting will be October 6th.
Yes.
All right. So if you can get that stuff to us in the next couple weeks, that'll give us time to look at it and decide what to do with it and have it ready for the next meeting.
Yeah, it should be plenty of time.
Okay. All right. All right. Do I need to make a motion? I forget. Do I make a motion? Yeah, to continue the, do I have a motion to continue this
Yes.
public hearing to October 6th?
So moved.
Who was that? Wait, sorry.
Peter.
Peter? Okay. And do I have a second?
Okay.
Is that Dave Perry? Okay, the
Yeah.
first and second, continue this to October 6th. All those in favor? Okay, I have to do a voice vote. I always have to look at my cheat sheet so I don't forget anybody. Rosemary?
Yes.
Susan, yes. Dave? Dave?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Peter?
Yes.
And Christine?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. All right, great.
Thank you.
See you in October.
All right.
Thanks. Paul.
Thank you all.
Yep,
Thanks
thanks
very
very much. Thanks for your patience. Hold on just a minute.
Yeah. It's getting late. Maybe, I know, maybe you want to.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I wonder if you can open things and then continue them. What do you think, Travis?
Yeah, we definitely can continue this if that's something. We don't need to open each one individually. We can.
Really?
You want to open each individual agenda item or?
Well, we have, yeah, the next one is a public information meeting. And then there's also later on, one of the last agenda items is a public hearing that was continued from August 4th.
Oh, that's the checklist one, right?
Yeah. So there's two things that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah.
How about
All right.
erring on the side of caution and individually do it?
Yeah. Is that what we're leaning towards doing right now? Is continuing everything from and not doing anything else tonight? Is that what we're leaning on?
Up to the chairman.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I was saying we won't everything, but I know I just kind of concerned about starting another big plan. I know I apologies to Bill, but you know, it's 10 o'clock now. I don't know if we could really start a whole nother plan.
Yeah, if you want to go through each agenda item, that would probably be good.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I haven't done this before to delay, postpone something, but
So we can open up the next particular agenda item. We will.
let me read it in. It's okay. Item number 3 is Tiverton Horizon Development Corporation Master Plan Public Informational Meeting, Lake Road Acres, 6-lot major rural subdivision, plat 609, lot 109, West Side Lake Road, west of Jacqueline Way, R80 and Nonquit Pond Watershed Secondary Overlay Districts. Review and possible vote. Time clock is 90 days to October 28, 2020. So what I'm doing is open the public hearing, but given the hour of 10:10, do I have a motion to continue this, unfortunately, to the October 6th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Is that Dave?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. I think we're all running out of gas here. To start a whole nother process, we'll put you on at the beginning of the agenda next time so you can go first.
Let's just continue the vote, finish the vote off.
Okay, so well, that was my discussion. Was the first and the second, so all those in favor will go through the voice vote to continue this to October 6th. Rosemary?
Yes.
Susan, yes. Dave?
Yes.
Peter?
You're muted, Peter.
Peter? Where's Peter?
Sorry, yes,
Oh,
yes.
Yes, and Christine.
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so Bill, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, we're gonna have to move you to the October 6th meeting.
We were afraid of that, but we assumed that was going to happen.
So our apologies. We'll put you on the beginning of the agenda.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All right.
And I'll try and respond to some of the consultant questions prior to that, so we can
all right.
maybe put some of those things to bed.
Okay, all right, that'll be excellent.
Can
Okay.
you try to get a better connection too?
I certainly will. I'll work on that. Sorry about that.
Get out of Adamsville.
You can hear us, but you can't see us.
Really enjoyed coming to the town hall. Hopefully that's going to happen, get back to normal soon.
So did we.
Yeah, I'm not home with you. Okay, all right, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So now, the next item is Awashunk's Realty, the surety release, Edward Avenue, unaccepted street improvements, north side Edward Avenue, east side or east of Crandall Road, discussion and possible vote. Surety expires June 30th, 2021. This is a pretty quick item. I want to go ahead and.
Yeah, I think that's who Mark is.
This one we can
Mark
do.
DeMello.
So,
Motion to-
Awashanks. So from the last time, I think what we had was we were looking for that turnaround. We have 2 letters from the fire marshal. And, oh, hi, Mark.
Hi, how you guys all?
We have Mark DeMello here.
Hi all.
He's the applicant. Well, he's, the owner of the surety. So we have a couple letters from the fire marshal. We have the DPW letter that signed off on your private road. So I don't know if anybody has any questions for Mark or any discussion on this. It's for releasing his $25,000 surety that he posted for this private road to be, road work to be done. It appears to be signed off on appropriately.
I don't have any questions, but I'll make a motion to release the $25,000.
Okay.
Who it should go to.
And who would it go to? Care of Awashanks?
Pardon?
Should the check go to?
Washanks Realty.
Awashanks.
I think that's how it came in by.
Okay. Yeah, we just always need to know who to have them. So
The check should go to Rosemary. I'm only kidding. You gotta have a sense of humor this time of night.
Oh, I'm exhausted.
So Dave, your motion is to release the surety to Awashanks Realty. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second, Rosemary.
Rosemary.
Okay, so we have a first and a second to release his money. Although, any discussion? All right, roll call. Rosemary?
Yes.
Susan? Yes. Dave?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And Christine?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Hey, the check's in the mail.
Thank you all. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
All right.
Sorry for the wait.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a little punchy here. So, number 5 is Highland Ridge Farm. Amendment of final plan Budway extension. That item was requested to be placed on October agenda, correct, Jennifer? Anyway, they just asked to be removed. From the agenda.
Yes, they just, sorry.
Yeah, they asked to be removed. So that one will be, that we're not doing that one. Administrative officer report, July and August.
I don't have the August one yet. We're doing that today.
July, everybody has that. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
Good job.
Very good job.
My only question was, or I don't think it fell in the July one, but when as we dispose of the shorties, can you include those like that so that we all know that they got
it's gone?
Yeah, that'd be great. So after we vote on it, comment that, you know, there's a record of it was voted on and the surety was released. That'd be great.
Okay. And I think you had mentioned that we didn't include the ad hoc meeting minutes for bill sales until I didn't want to distribute it until we're going to talk about it so that it'll be fresh in your mind. So.
Right. part of the package. Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right. Number 7 is Tiverton Planning Board. We can do these. Approval of minutes. We have July 21st draft. Any comments?
I have something if I can find it.
July.
Oh, no, it's on August 4th. Sorry.
Okay. So anybody have any corrections or comments for the July 21 minutes? Okay, let's see. Do we have enough people? Oh, okay.
Susan.
Okay, so motion to approve the July 21st minutes.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Rosemary. Okay, first and second, July 21st minutes. All those in favor? Rosemary?
Yes.
Susan? Yes. Dave?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Okay, so those are done. Tara, you got those all ready to go. And then, and if people want hard copies, Tara can get those out to you.
Please.
August 4th minutes.
I have an item.
Yep.
And that's my concern on page 1, the last sentence. Ms. Eva expressed concern over the potential need for remediation of the site. I know that site has been remediated. It was the status of the remediation.
So you were asking for the status?
Yeah, my concern over the remediation. It's been so long.
So you were requesting the status of the remediation of the site?
Yeah, concern. Fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So
Dave,
go ahead, Dave.
Okay,
Second.
and then Rosemary, second? Is that you, second? Okay, so we have first and second to amend the August 4th minutes was amended. All those in favor, roll call. Rosemary?
Yes.
Susan? Yes. Dave?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And Christine?
Yes.
You were at that meeting, right? Yes. Okay. That's 5. Okay, excellent. I think this part's fast. Okay. We can postpone, I guess there's nothing urgent. Review of sureties and possible vote, JPS Realty, Winterberry Woods, and Sylvia, Naughty Pine Extension, and gravel bonds. If you want, we can delay these to the next meeting if you'd like. Everybody in favor of that? Move those.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll carry these for the next meeting.
Sure.
Okay.
Is there a motion? Can we do it by motion, please?
We have to do a motion? Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to continue the sureties and possible vote to the October 6th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
And Dave. roll call. Rosemary,
Yes.
Susan, yes. Dave,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Christine.
Yes.
Five. Okay. Okay, to October 5th. 6. All right. I'll forego my comments till next time. Chairman review of planning board policies. I'll continue that item. Appoint, oh, Stu's not here tonight. Okay, appoint ad hoc committee to write and review ordinance.
Oh, you forgot about the checklist.
That's at the end. That's the next item.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was going to do that. I was just going in order to appoint D. I was doing D. I don't know.
Number D is the checklist.
Now D is appoint
D's
ad hoc
ad
committee to write and review ordinance to limit development with soil and water constraints, discussion and possible vote. I think I'd like to continue this. This was Stu's item from his memo in July. So I'd like him to be here when we select the student group.
Let's do a motion on this one as well, please.
The motion to continue this item to the October meeting. Or motion? Is that Peter?
Yes.
Peter, okay, and second? I'll second
Come on,
it.
Christine.
I seconded it, okay.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. All right. Roll call. Rosemary, this is to
Yes.
move this. Rosemary, Susan, yes. Dave,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Christine.
Yes.
All right. All right. And then amended checklist and subdivision regulations, public hearing and possible vote. So
You have to open it.
I will continue the public hearing.
You have to open the meeting, don't you?
Yeah, let's
Well,
open.
it's open, it's already open. So I'm continuing the public hearing from August 4th.
Okay.
Okay, continuing from August 4th meeting.
Well, let's do it by motion.
So just so everybody knows, I haven't gotten any feedback from the solicitors yet on comments. I did receive comments from Joe yesterday or today, I don't remember, but I'll try and organize.
I'm sorry to stop you. Did you
What?
continue it to
Well,
August
I've continued
or
it.
October?
I've basically continued it from the August 4th meeting, so that opens it, right? Or that continues it. We're continuing the public hearing from August 4th.
I think you have to say
have to
when you're
open it.
going to continue it to.
We just need a motion.
A motion to what?
Continue it. It hasn't, just like we've done all the other
Right.
items.
Right, but
Oh.
while we have it open, I was just making a comment on the status.
Okay.
Right, that's all I was doing. Was
Okay.
saying- So I had it continued from the August 4th, which continued the public hearing. And now all I was telling people was I had comments from Steer that I want to have a chance to organize to submit, rather than a whole nother set of plan checklists, so that we can have those. So, and then you'll have time now to look at those to consider for discussion. If we get any solicitor comments, that would be helpful too between now and then. So now we can take a motion to continue this to, well, that was my question. Was we had talked about possibly a second meeting this month to go specifically over the checklists. So I don't know if people are willing or able for a meeting September 15th, which is 2 weeks from now, specifically to work on the checklist to get these approved, because we have to continue it to a date certain.
Good idea.
So if we continue this to October, it's probably the same thing's going to happen tonight. We just packed our agenda. So I don't know if people can, so I know Rosemary's responded. I can do it. I think Stu said he could. So we only need 5.
I can do it on the.
You can do it.
Peter can do it. Dave can do it. Christine, are you all in?
I think so. We're going on vacation, but I can make that work.
So 1.
You can do
Oh,
Zoom.
but as long as we can get Stu connected, as long as we have 5.
I'm going to work on that. I'm going to help.
Right. So as long as we can get 5 people, don't have a quorum.
Forget the
And
vacations. Tonight was my birthday.
Yeah, Travis, will you be available?
Either Michael or I will be here for
Okay,
sure.
all right. All right,
Happy birthday here.
excellent. And we know that we have Andrew lined up for the 15th. He can hook us up. And Jennifer loves to come, so she's ready. All
Would
right.
we plan to
I'm
do that
actually,
And
it's-
Tara,
I'm
sorry,
scheduled to
Tara.
be, I'm
Sorry, what?
scheduled to be in Aruba that week. But
Oh, yeah.
Again?
like I said, I'm scheduled. They've already canceled my flights. So if I can't get new flights, then I got to cancel the resort as well.
Don't they have internet?
Really? I'm going to do it from the beach. I'm going to do it from the beach then.
They have internet.
With a-
They have internet. Come
With a
on.
margarita.
We'll multitask. Well, if we have your comments, maybe, we can go forward with some of them. Anyway. All right.
My flights have actually been canceled, so it doesn't look good for the resort either.
Right. Right.
You want to
Okay.
make us jealous.
All right. He's trying. All right. So do we have a motion to continue the public hearing for checklist subdivision regs to Tuesday, September 15th, correct?
So moved.
That's Dave and
Second.
Rosemary. All right. Excellent. You guys are great.
And just
All
to
right.
clarify, that would also be at 6:30, correct?
Right, at 6:30? Okay, you want to amend that? Well, yeah, that's our regular meeting time, so.
Okay, I just wanted to be
6:30
sure.
to 9?
What?
6:30 to 9 o'clock? No 10s.
Right, we tried. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Continue those checklist items, public hearing to September 15th. I'm getting money. All right, Rosemary, roll call.
Yes.
Susan, yes. Dave,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Christine.
Yes.
Great. Excellent. All right. You guys all get gold stars. Sorry. Yeah. All right. I think that's everything. So do we have a motion to adjourn at 10:30?
Wait a minute.
So moved.
10/6.
What?
The next meeting is October 6th.
October 6th. Yep.
Oh, yes, after
October
that.
6th, regular meeting.
I make a motion we adjourn at 10 what?
10:30 by this clock.
10:25 here, but
Yep, 10:25.
Right. Good time, 10:25. Okay. Excellent.
Thank you.
Everyone's free to go. Thank you.